Alrighty, welcome to episode 102 of Topwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Tesla's head of investor relations, Martin Vicha, has tweeted a Tesla link that allows shareholders to be verified and subsequently set up investor relations email notifications. The URL for the verification link is https://www.tesla.com/Tesla account/subscription-preferences. Tesla has released its Q2 results, which have demonstrated its resilience, even in the face of severe external factors beyond its control, including the forced closure for much of the quarter of its Shanghai Gigafactory, which is Tesla's most prolific and most profitable facility. Nonetheless, Tesla increased its year-on-year automotive earnings by 43% to $14.6 billion and increased its year-on-year operating income by 88% to $2.5 billion. In a welcome acknowledgement of what was already well known, Tesla has confirmed that its currently installed annual production capacity has risen to greater than 1.9 million vehicles per annum across its models S, 3, X, and Y. Tesla has listed a Model Y tow hitch on their Australian website shop. The service centre fitted accessories sells for $1,970 and is expected to be available to order shortly. The tow bar is supplied with a 2-inch square receiver which allows a multitude of customer-supplied ball and accessory mounts to be attached to the car. Tesla have updated their standard connectivity policy on new cars ordered from the 21st of July. Standard connectivity will now be provided free of charge for 8 years from the date of delivery, after which owners can purchase either standard or premium connectivity thereafter. Volkswagen's progressive and consequently divisive CEO Herbert Diess is set to leave the company on the 1st of September, 3 years before the end of his contract. Various sources suggest that the Porsche and Peak families, who have a combined 31.4% stake in the company but have half the voting rights, were the chief protagonists in seeking Dies's departure. An interestingly recently painted stretch of road in Hollister, California has proven no match for Tesla's FSD beta program. In spite of its comically meandering and nonsensical layout, Tesla's FSD beta feature was able to maintain full engagement while safely traversing all parts of the road. Tesla is now providing direct access to roadside assistance via the Tesla app. Various roadside conditions such as flat tyres, charging problems, drivability and a multitude of other conditions can now easily be reported to Tesla for direct actioning without having to phone their roadside assistance number. Neoen, operator of the Tesla-built Hornsdale Power Reserve in South Australia, has announced that it is delivering the world's first grid inertia services at scale. With 3,000 megawatt seconds of inertia, Australia's big battery is providing substantial grid inertia services which would traditionally be provided by costly and inefficient fossil-fueled spinning reserve power generators. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was. So, as is tradition, if there's anyone that's new to Ask Us Anything or has been lurking before and you'd like to say hello, please do so now for the next few seconds. And welcome, Lance. I think you're trying to unmute yourself, I hope. That's cool. Yep, you should be able to do that with a bit of luck. Yep, Paul's unmuted. Actually, if there's anyone else, yep, welcome, Lance.
I'm on. G'day, guys. Yeah, I've been hanging around for the last couple of weeks. I've had a Model 3 on order since February, late February, still hanging out, and just had my Gen 3 Powerwall installed this week, and still waiting for a confirmation date.
So you've not gotten a VIN or any indication that your car's been built yet?
No, nothing yet. I think I ordered on the 26th of February.
Yeah, cool. So you should have some sort of bracket. Like, have they said a month? Like, have they said August?
Still, it says it was July to September. Now it's August to November.
Oh, okay. We might talk a little bit later on in the program because there is a way to see if you have got a VIN allocated. And
I know how to do that. No, there's no VIN number allocated yet.
Okay. All right. So That's very interesting. All right, we'll just park that for a moment. We'll let some other people say hello, and we'll get to some of that nitty gritty a little bit later on. But yeah, definitely welcome. Is there anyone else that would like to say hello that hasn't done so in the past? Oh yes,
I'll stick.
Mr. Zoom user.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Chris is the name.
G'day, Chris. Welcome.
Hi, I've been listening to your broadcast for the last few weeks, but I'm on holiday in Europe at the moment, so I've just grabbed the opportunity now to log in and just make a small contribution.
Absolutely.
I'm in
It's
the UK
funny.
at the moment.
Sorry, sorry. Apologies for interrupting you. I did notice that it looked like suspiciously looked like sunlight outside your window, and I thought, this gentleman's in
Yeah,
Europe. Yeah, go on.
yeah. It's 12:30 in the UK at the moment. Um,
Fantastic.
yeah, I've been listening to your broadcast, and it's very informative. I'm quite enjoying them actually. But I've had the chance now to sit down and maybe make a small contribution. Um, I ordered a 3 back at the beginning of June, and had that on order. And my friend who also has had a 3 is one of the people who had the first Model 3s in Australia. Actually, he gave me a phone call at the blue one Monday morning saying that the order for the Y was open. So I jumped on the website and promptly ordered one. The reason I ordered a 3 in the first place was because I was told the Y wouldn't be available for some time. I went and did a test drive, and I asked the question, I really want a Y. When's that coming? And they said, well, the soonest we can give you a 3 is in March, and the Y is probably going to be after that. So I sort of forgot about that and was quite happy to take a 3. But anyway, long story short, I ordered a Y, and it should be coming in a month's time, hopefully. Second 2 weeks of August is what I've been told.
Yep.
But actually, the main point of my contribution today is because I've just spent 4 days in Norway, and I spent 2 in Oslo and 2 in Bergen. And although I'd seen a lot of YouTube clips and news items about the uptake of EVs over there, I was just blown away by the extent of it. Quite extraordinary. In Oslo, especially, you look down a line of cars parked on the side of the road, and 75 to 80% of them are electric. And I would say probably 50% of those would be Teslas. It seemed to me that the Model 3 was almost the most popular car on the road.
Yep.
And even to the extent you see Model S taxis and EV6 taxis, it's just commonplace. Yeah, I was just quite amazed at the uptake, and it's sort of it shows what the rest of the world should be doing, and hopefully will in due course. The other observation was that we were walking around Oslo, which is quite a nice city, and it suddenly struck me what the difference was between there and anywhere else, any other city I've been to, and that was the quietness. You just don't get the roar of traffic which you normally expect, and of course the lack of fumes as well, which is always very nice. So yeah, it's a bit eye opener, and I'd recommend anybody who's got the opportunity to go and have a look if they ever get to that part of the world, because it's worth a look.
Absolutely. So what you've actually done is seen into the future. So you're seeing now what Australia will be in some years' time. We're late to the party, but we're getting there, and it's a great thing to see. But yeah, Norway's awesome. Yeah, it really is. It's just an eye opener.
I'd imagine also there's a pretty fair second-hand market. I didn't look into it, but there are so many around. There would have to be a second-hand market in electric cars, especially Teslas.
Absolutely.
So what struck me is that every electric vehicle I've seen online in fully charged websites and that sort of thing, every one is there. I mean, they seem to be the place where they get released first, or the latest models, EQSs, all sorts. They're just there. I also went into a shop on the main street which had the might actually find a photograph and put it up for you. That hyper car from China. Forgot what its name is now, but it's outlandish looking thing. You just walk in off the street and have a look around and have a poke in it. You know, it's quite something. When I get a chance, I'll put the photograph up. But it had a price tag on it of 6 million crowns, which is around about $1 million.
Right. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got to be quite affluent to be able to afford that.
Yeah. So
it's very affluent.
Cool. That's awesome, Chris. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, we're definitely if you sort of like hunt down that photo, that'll be quite interesting. Is there anyone else? I can see quite a actually I already know I can see a few people that are new. So please feel free to say hello if you're comfortable in doing so, or you can also just ask questions through the chat if you prefer it that way. But I do see a few new faces, so please feel free to say hello. Or not, which is totally cool too. So again, it's totally cool to lurk and just to listen in and ask questions when you feel comfortable. Okay, so one thing we did last night, which was pretty cool, is we had the Synergy Technology Expo, which I think it was 60 TOCWA members were invited to and 20 EVA members. And it was an awesome night had by everyone. I've actually, courtesy of Pete Petrovsky, who not only asked the best questions, he actually took the best photos.
Longest question.
Well, they were good questions too. They were good questions.
Yeah, no, they were great questions.
So, but he also took some great slides, which I'm just going to throw up ad hoc. And like
Russell asked a really good question as well about the reliability of chargers. I thought that was a really good question too.
Absolutely. So
I actually wrote that for Russell to give that to him.
So humble, Pete. Stop. You're embarrassing me. You know your questions better than mine.
So without further ado, like I said, these are actually taken as in public from the actual screen by Pete. So all credit to him for the great photos. And the first one, I hope that's coming through.
Yeah, it looks all right.
It was basically an intro to what Synergy actually is. And they were actually basically showing some of their energy generating facilities. Obviously, the section in blue is the SWIS, the Southwest Interconnected System, which is really a grid within it's an islanded grid, basically. Then handing down, I don't know if we can go next page. No, that's not going to work. We'll just have to do it the old-fashioned way. One of the things that was discussed was the virtual power plant for schools. So currently, I think there are 10 schools involved, but it's going to extend to 7 regional schools for stage 2. But it basically involves mostly having Tesla, not the mega chargers, the
Powerwall?
No,
Power pack. Yep.
Power packs at schools. So one example that I can think of is actually Ross Moyne Senior High School. They've got, I think it's three or four power packs acting as the VPP there, virtual power plant. And then the next slide, we've got the emergency solar management, which is a little bit controversial, and there's 2 ways where it can be implemented. This actually occurs, and Minister Johnston has been on the record in a radio interview basically saying that he expects this to be actually undertaken whereby they, during emergencies, shut down people's inverters. These are new inverters as of
Valentine's Day.
2014.
Valentine's Day. Yeah. Awesome. That's a very important day we should all remember, hey Pete? Especially for those Tesla widows that need to have some assurance that, yes, we do love Tesla, but we do love you too most of the time.
They're happy watching TV with the remotes at the moment. So.
That's right. Tonight is their favourite night because it's TV night for them.
Yep.
but basically, since Valentine's Day this year, any new installation or any augmented or modified installation needs to comply with the new regulations, which mean they have to have an online presence, so internet connected to an inverter that's compliant, basically one that can be remotely switched on and off, well, off basically, and then back on again. The other but there is another alternative, which is, so you have your API cloud solution just here, but and that's basically using a compliant inverter. But you can also use a metering solution whereby there's a module that's fitted to your smart meter, which is Western Power's meter, and then that has a relay contact which can then have an isolating effect and basically disconnect your inverter.
You know what the fine is for not having that, or removing it, or disconnecting your internet?
I don't think there is one.
It would be X number of penalty units, which they do these days, which gets indexed. Don't know, Russell, to be honest, but suffice to say you're in breach of the regulations, and there no doubt would be a penalty. And how far that could go, I guess.
If your internet just happened to go out, it's sort of like a bit of an oddball situation you're sort of left in, right? Yeah. So it just seems very, very poorly thought through, and just on the fly, it doesn't really seem like it's a robust solution that's going to be
Absolutely. Except if it goes into what you could call a fail-safe mode, which is if it loses internet connectivity, it disconnects itself off the grid, which could cause problems too. If you've got no internet, then you've got no solar. But we don't know that, I guess.
Don't you set up with the inverters? There's grid codes, right? When you set it up, and you have to pick the relevant grid code that you set the inverter up to.
Yep.
There's nothing stopping the users going there and swapping the grid code over to a different one, and then it doesn't affect it anymore, right?
Except for the fact that that's illegal, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's lots of stuff they got to think through, isn't there?
And there's nothing stopping you from disconnecting it from the internet. So changing a lot of them are connected via Wi-Fi. So what you could simply do is, and by the way, the installers are obliged, they have to verify that the unit is connected to the internet, and they have to actually download all the configuration pages. So most of the inverters, you can click a link and that will actually generate its own PDF, which they download and save, and that'll contain your inverters, all its settings, including the Wi-Fi connection, the whole lot. So yeah, there's nothing stopping you from accidentally changing the Wi-Fi password to your modem and updating it for all your other devices, and you happen to forget to update it for the inverter.
Apart from you can't monitor your system, then.
That's right. That's right. So
the question is where that falls. So I know, like in the early days of solar, when we had the analog meters, people wouldn't get their meter swapped for a bidirectional meter, would have the meter spinning backwards. So that was later changed to become a criminal penalty. It fell under meter tampering. So even though you're not actually doing anything to the meter, you just failed to change it, it was deemed to be meter tampering, and you can actually go to jail for it. Pretty sure this is not a criminal offence, but at some point they may make it one. But yeah, still the point is this is a knee-jerk reaction, and it's basically our admission we failed to keep up with solar. We failed to firm up solar with storage.
Except Minister Johnson has reassured the public that this is most likely to occur a few times a year in the spring or autumn, on a spring or autumn Sunday.
But he can't know that. So yes, that's true. That's the way it looks like at the moment. And he's using South Australia as an example, where they were only had to disconnect the inverters for less than an hour last year. But the fact is that the more we fall behind with firming up renewables with storage, the more often and the longer these events will occur. So it all depends. You know, if I mean, the Kwinana battery should be online in a couple of months, so that will really help. And there's a lot of things that they're doing. But if they, you know, we'll probably have a big take up of EVs in the next 2 to 3 years. It will be huge. I wouldn't be surprised if 1 in 2 cars sold in Australia within 1 in 2 new cars sold in Australia within 5 years is going to be an EV, which, you know, at the moment it's about 2.5%. So, you know, to go from 2.5% to 50%, I think that could happen within 5 years, and it will catch a lot of people out. And, you know, if you've got an EV, you either already have most people already have a solar system, and or most people would have bought a solar system in anticipation of getting an EV, or if they haven't, they buy a solar system once they have an EV. So we could see, you know, a huge increase in the already high levels of solar adoption. So, yeah, so they may find themselves in a situation where, you know, even the plans that they've announced are just still too many years behind. And then it could, you know, it could be happening, you know, every month. There could be, or, you know, or like you said, in spring and autumn, it could happen, you know, numerous times.
Yes, I think what was mentioned was it 300 and something megawatts of solar were being added each year.
Yep.
That's representing the by far the biggest single generator.
They said 65% of the load at its peak was solar, right? Isn't that what they said? 65% was that the figure?
I think so, yeah, at least. And of course, the problem is when that becomes close to 100, then you've got massive problems. Well, even well before then. So,
Harold, just one thing.
Yep. Go, Mark.
Just a quick one. I'm actually in a situation where I'm having a power wall fitted on the 12th of August. And I've got an old system. My system was installed 11 years ago, 11 and a half years ago now. So I'm sticking with my old system and a new power wall. So I'm going to be in the situation where I'm having the new meter put in with the switch out. So I asked the question, what happens when, if it does get disconnected? And I've been told that actually won't disconnect my inverter. It just isolates my house, and my house then becomes an island. So consequently, I'll then be running off battery. It won't have disconnected my inverter. It just disconnects me from putting power onto the grid. Was anything like that mentioned in there?
I don't think that's right.
That's not right. I mean, that might be the way your electrician deals with it, and that probably makes your house compliant. But I don't know whether you'd necessarily want to do that. You're better off just allowing the inverter itself to have the isolator connected to it, and therefore it's just the inverter that just gets isolated, and you're
but what it means, it just means I just get cut off from the mains power, and consequently, all I do then is just run off my battery.
Yeah, look, well, yeah, and if that works for you, that's cool, but that's not what's required. What's required is the inverter be disconnected. The fact that your electrician is saying, or your electrical contractor is saying, we can make it compliant by simply switching your whole house off the grid. Yes, that's true. It would be compliant. But I would suggest that could be a bit of a sledgehammer, because you could always dream up a scenario where something weird happens and your power wall's flat and you're being
you've got no power,
and you might.
It's interesting. That I'm going to have to ask again, because they're the official. The power wall's been fitted through Tesla.
Yeah, Mark, what you can do with your power wall is you can set aside a buffer. So it's a
minimum charge.
13.5 kilowatt hour battery. So you can use it as a 10 kilowatt hour battery and keep aside 3.5 kilowatt hours for whenever the grid goes out. But are you on single or three phase?
Single phase.
Okay, so even with single phase, you'll be limited to 5 kilowatts. So the most that you can draw, you can charge and discharge the battery.
Yeah,
is
precisely.
5 kilowatts at a time. So if your air conditioner, is a 6 kilowatt unit.
Yeah, my air conditioner won't be on the power wall. It'll just be the main circuits, not the air conditioners.
Yeah, okay. So if your essential circuits are less than 5 kilowatts, you're fine. But you know, 5 kilowatts, if you run that for 2 hours, there's your 10 kilowatt hours gone.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right.
Hours, you know, you only had.
Sorry, Mike.
Had his hand up a little while ago, and he's taking it.
Oh, Fabian, welcome. Oh, okay.
Hello. I thought I would just say hi, and I thought I'd offer a comment about the distributed generation management. I know a little bit about what was going on. I thought people might be interested. You're mentioning, Pete, that it was really about the number of batteries we have in the system, but it's not so much about that. It's about system strength. So one of the things that we need to run the electricity system is we have to have enough power generators that have spinning right now to have spinning mass that provides system strength. And so the problem when we have a high level of distributed generation in spring and autumn and low load is they can't keep enough of the power stations running. And so the idea is to increase loads. They can keep those coal and gas-fired power stations running. This is kind of different to the situation in South Australia, where they do have sources of system strength that aren't gas-fired power stations or coal-fired power stations. They have spinning condensers. They also have to interconnect with Victoria. And I think, interestingly, there was news this week about the Hornsdale Reserve providing inertia, which is a form of system strength. And so really the future in Western Australia is we're having a new market come in place in about 12 months, and that will provide a market for inertia services. And so these kind of large utility scale batteries will be able to do the same kind of thing we're seeing in South Australia. So that's kind of the future of the system. It's really about maintaining enough load for now so we can keep those old power stations running, provide system strength. But the future is, I guess, kind of an inverter-based grid. And that will probably be where we'll get to over the next kind of 10 years as we retire the coal-fired power stations.
Yeah, so I mean, yes, it's the same. It's a different side of the same coin. So yes, you could keep, you know, polluting the atmosphere and running coal and gas and you know, other generators, fossil fuel generators. The solution is to replace those with batteries. And the reason, for the ESM is because during midday we have, you know, the duck curve. And, you know, our grid was designed to work between 1,000 and 2,000 megawatts. And I think last year it got down to about 628. And there's discussion as to what, you know, the system wasn't designed to function at such a low load. So, you know, there's discussion what the safe level is before the whole system is compromised. Is it, you know, 600, is 500, is it 450? Whatever the level is, the consensus is that it can't go below that level, otherwise we'll have a statewide outage. So, you know, you can either keep running the old coal-fired power stations, or you could put in more batteries. So surely the future is putting in more batteries. So rather than clinging on to the past, we can look to the future.
Eventually it is. I think the challenge we've got at the moment is the inverter-based systems we're deploying today are kind of, they're load following, they're not grid forming. And so we have to actually change the kinds of inverter systems we're deploying, and that's going to take time. The inverters we have in our homes today, for the most part, aren't capable of providing system strength.
Yeah, but if we had enough batteries, none of this would be an issue.
Well, there is this issue of system strength, which is really about how we set frequency and voltage on the system. And so it's not just about batteries. It's really about having, I guess, the right kinds of inverters or other sources of system strength. So anyway, look, this is a bit of an academic discussion. Anyway, I thought I'd just try those comments if they were interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, at another time, we'll definitely do a bit of a deep dive, because that's actually quite interesting. And I think, I sort of agree with you. If we all had batteries, the problem is then we'd all be in zero loads, and then that doesn't fix it, because yes, it means every house doesn't become a net exporter or importer, and then, well, again, you'll still get a massively low load. You've got to have stability somewhere. So certainly an interesting discussion.
In WA, we've got a limit of, on single phase, it's 5 kilowatts for solar. 3 phase, it's, you know, roughly about 8 kilowatts, and yes, you can go a little bit more, but that, you know, an average 5 kilowatts system with a 5 kilowatt inverter will produce in WA roughly about 24 kilowatt hours a day. Now, an average EV, which drives 15,000 kilometres a year, which is what the average Aussie does, will consume about 8 kilowatt hours a day. So a 2 EV family will consume 16 kilowatt hours a day. So 2/3 of what the solar can produce. So there's your load. So, you know, the solution is EVs, solar, batteries.
And Pete, I think you need to tack on maybe some competition.
Oh,
maybe
a bit of Bitcoin mining as well. Bit of Bitcoin mining as well.
Yeah. A little bit
if there was, like you suggested, Pete, because I was going to bring out the point, but you took the limelight, I suppose. Having a spot price would mean, theoretically, you could have zero cost electricity. Rather than switching off inverters, you can just get everyone to plug their cars in and pull the load required for essentially free the grid up for free, right?
Absolutely, you remove a lot of the friction from the market. The way the market responds to price signals, we know that whether it's residential, commercial, contestable, doesn't matter. The market responds to price signals. So rather than those price signals taking 18 months to come to the market, they could take 30 minutes. So, you know, surely that's a much more efficient way to achieve what they're trying to achieve with the grid.
And the only issue I've got with the instant price and having to plug your car in, I'm at work, my solar panels are here. So if there is a cheap price for a spot price, I can't take advantage of that because my work doesn't have chargers there. And I'd say the vast majority of owners don't have the ability to charge their car during the day when they're at work. So I think that's a bigger key. You know, I can do it here at home.
Charges. You need workplace charges on flexible tariffs. In fact, you need effectively an isolated tariff for those charges, and you need those charges. Frustratingly, I know a little bit about EVSEs, and there was a draft Australian standard for demand response enabling on car chargers, basically, and it described what the dread the demand response enabling device would do to a car charger to tell it. So the grid, the AEMO could say, we've got a shortage of generation, we need to shed car chargers. And the rules are you either shed it completely off, you can go to 50% or 25% of what, and 75% of what it was charging for the last 5 minutes on average. So you could actually throttle down EV chargers remotely. Frustratingly, that standard never went beyond the draft phase. So that's an opportunity missed. But the great thing about EVs, of course, is they don't need to be charged right now. They can be charged in the next hour, the next half an hour, the next 6 hours, because none of it's urgent. So there's a real opportunity to have significant load balancing using EVs. But Andrew, like you said, the key there is you need to have workplace chargers, because most cars for working class or working age people, most of their cars are in the car park at work.
Yeah, and if the increase in EVs is going to happen in the next couple of years, as everyone's predicting, then it's going to be more and more in the general population sitting in a car park. It's not going to be those of us that are, have the ability to work from home sometimes.
Andrew, don't underestimate the power of whinging. So when you're asked the first time, the second time, the third and the 17th time, whether you could have a charger at work, the 18th time might just be the straw that breaks the camel's back and you get it done. That's, I asked
you can get the ask maybe, Andrew. Maybe the boss might just say, look, about time you fucked off.
Just sorry. One of our financial controllers has a Tesla, so that's fine.
John, go, John.
Go, John, quick.
Just one, and look, I'm no expert on this, and somebody from Gemtech told me, so I'm just qualifying this information. But I was told that all air conditioners installed since a certain date have actually got signal on power capability. So the grid operator can actually turn down your air conditioner. And what I heard about was a trial in one of the suburbs. They told everyone in the suburb in the middle of summer that they were going to control their air conditioners, and then for everyone to report whether whether it bothered them or not. Just go about your business and just let us know. And they controlled half of them and didn't control the other half, and it was just a total even response. So nobody actually knew they were air conditioners are getting turned down. If your air conditioner is going flat out 100% and then turned down to 75%, most people probably wouldn't even notice. And to me, I reckon, it's a similar thing with controlling the solar inverter. I don't necessarily disagree that they should be able to, if they've got too much solar on the grid and you're exporting like crazy, for them to be able to turn that down, I reckon that's fair enough. And ditto, I reckon if everyone's going flat out with air conditioners, they haven't got enough power on the grid, they should be able to throttle it back to 75%, and that's reasonable, right? I see that as a reasonable grid management tool myself.
The only thing is the CSIRO did a great study into actually that, because I forget which grid it was. It was either New South Wales or in Victoria, where they did a study into air conditioners being fitted with DRED, or demand response enabling devices, to throttle down.
Yeah.
They actually worked out it was a counterproductive system. It literally basically pulse width modulated or turned down the aircon compressors, and that then causes the house to actually heat up sort of in the afternoon. And then when the demand response period ends, then they basically throttle back up to full bore to try and get the temperature back to where the set point was originally. And that then can actually be quite wasteful in energy. Unfortunately, the aircon one has been sort of exposed as being not at all. It's not worth it for the effort and the discomfort, and you get very little net gain. But EVs is a completely different kettle of fish, because like I said, if you've got a 70 kilowatt hour battery, you don't care if it's now at 40 kilowatt hours and waiting to charge in 5 hours time to get to 70, or you don't care if it happens at 2 o'clock in the morning or any time of a day when your average car is driving 38 Ks per day. So you don't care when 8 kilowatt hours are being put into your car.
What about little old me stuck in the car park in Meriden waiting to go to you and me to the front?
Yes. So and in fact, and this is in the draft standard. So if you had an EVSE that had a demand response device on it, it also comes with a push button override. And what you're allowed to do is you can, if there's a demand response event and it throttles your car down to 50% charging rate, you can press the override button during that period, and it will go to full rate. But then the rule gets a bit more nuanced. If they then re-enable a demand response again, because they really need it to happen, I think then it won't work the second time. So they can sort of enforce a hard demand response if they really need to. But in general, any human can override it and go to full rate, say like in your case, Pete, because you're literally waiting for your car to charge now, and it's not that you've left it in the garage and you've gone to sleep overnight or something like that. So there are those solutions. And like I said, EVs are just one of the best dispatchable loads, because you can just turn them off in an instant, and you can turn them on, provided they're plugged in and ready. You can turn them on in an instant if you've got surplus generation.
Yes.
Well, and that sort of dovetails into the next slide, which is Project Symphony. And as a symphony sort of implies, you've got a lot of instruments working together, and that's where they're basically trying to get all of the different distributed energy resources working in an orchestrated fashion. And that's part of the Project Symphony. So that includes virtual power plants, solar generation, wind, hydro storage, the whole lot, everything working together, virtual power plants, everything, EVs, the whole lot. You can actually see there's a little virtual power plant there, the school one there. In fact, that's 4 Tesla. Oh, well, probably 3 and a switchboard power packs. Then the next slide got into what we were mainly interested in, which is the Western Australian Electric Highway. And of course, these maps are actually available on Synergy's website, or at least the main map. But obviously what they discussed is we're basically going from Perth, which is actually Kings Park, to Kununurra, eastwards to Eucla, and also to Kalgoorlie, and many places in between. So basically, this was very interesting. So the key milestones achieved is the hardware contract has been awarded. they're not yet at liberty to say, or they weren't at liberty to say what the hardware is, because that's pending a ministerial announcement of that which has already been awarded. And they've done a software request. That's basically the user interface. So that's your app and your payment method. And they've got those quotes out there, or a request to quote. I presume that might be a tender. In fact, Russell, that's probably on the tender website. I would have.
Yeah, I'll look for it now. But there was a question tonight that I don't like when people ask questions that already have answers that have been made public. They asked the question about what the speed's going to be like at each different charging locations. I think we've already showed that graphic before. So for the purposes of that guy who asked, maybe you can flash that slide back up again that we've got.
Oh yes, I'll do that a little bit later, because that's going to take a few seconds of effort to do that.
Harold, I'll dig out the tender in the meantime.
Yeah,
just
awesome.
quickly on that
Pete.
slide, if you can put it back up, Harold, that slide basically tells us it's not Tesla, because if it was Tesla chargers, you wouldn't have two separate contracts, one for the software, one for the hardware.
Precisely. But basically, in general terms, what they've basically got is the hardware, which is the charger itself, and then, like for instance, like a tritium or whatever, circuit control, RAC highway. You've got the actual physical charger, but then you've got the software. You could think of that in terms of like suppliers like ChargeFox, Smart Charge, and others. So that's that's the customer-facing interface. Your payment method and all that sort of stuff, how that's done in the not the back office, but in a server somewhere. So, and then you've also got Western Power's involvement, which is to do the network augmentation. So that's basically procuring transformers and the hardware and all the permits. And most of that's been done to Western Power, and there's been a lot of work. It was actually said during the discussion that they've actually done things like pre-ordered many of the transformers, because they knew that they would be hard to get items, or items that are traditionally have long lead times. So they've been
very good move.
Yeah, and they've been very proactive in doing this. They do understand the process. Actually, I think that might be another slide. And then the last process is the brand name. And that's going to be quite interesting. And we're going to discuss that in a little while too. So the next, yes. So this is basically the journey to installing the charger. And, the first thing I do is choose a suitable site. And that sort of sounds, well, kind of easy, but it's far, far, far from easy. Then you've got to put in a network application to Western Power. And then you've got to determine whether or not there's a development application required. In some cases there is, in some cases there isn't. You've got to negotiate with the local government authorities. And by the way, that can be fraught with issues. So for instance, it's public knowledge, or it's on the public record that, for instance, the Shire of Gin initially were playing hardball with Synergy. So they're on the record in council minutes as saying that they'd agreed to have a lease agreement with Tesla, because Tesla and Synergy are co-locating in the same park. In fact, I forget what the park's called, but it's long as they had a casual meetup a couple of years ago. That's the one, Pete, to Harris, that I tried to blind you with my drone, with that awesome flying technique of mine when I first got it. But anyway, that park in Lancelin, that's where Synergy will be located, and Tesla. And the Shire of Gin had insisted that both organisations pay, I think it was $1,500 a year rent or lease for the plots. Now the thing is, this electric highway project is a government initiative. The government, by definition, is not making money. It's not a money-making scheme. This is a equitable access initiative. So eventually, the Shire of Gin conceded that point and has now accepted that Synergy pay a peppercorn rent. But the point is, no doubt, Synergy had to lobby the local government to allow that to happen, because initially they were quite, I'm going to say arrogant in saying, well, you know what, you can just pay what Tesla's paying because as far as we're concerned, you're the same type of people, which isn't the case. So that's one of the hurdles that you've got to do. So when it says sign an agreement with LGA, that sort of sounds like, you just go and sit down and get your pen out and it's all good, but that can take a lot of legwork in the background. That's all of this stuff is invisible to us. So we see none of this happening. Then you've got Western Power site network augmentation design. So then they've got to actually design that, and they've got a plan where the substation is, where your high voltage power is, so they can put in a, whatever it is, 330 kilowatt or kVA transformer or whatever size they need. And then you've got site preparation, which is actually making sure all the other, you've got essential services that if you're putting in underground cables, you've got to make sure you're not, you can't just dial before you dig. You've got to determine where all the services are and all that sort of stuff. Then you've actually got the network augmentation itself, which again, Synergy has explained that a lot of that has been at least pre-ordered, or at least the equipment for that mostly has been pre-ordered. And at the very last, 0.8, is you've got the EV charger installation. And look, as John Edwards and I know, you can install an EVSE, a fast DC charger in half an hour, with two semi-retired people doing it, literally in an afternoon, with the supervision of an electrical contractor. So the actual installation is just mounting a box on a few Dynabolts on a concrete slab after everything else has been done. So I thought that was...
A lot of these things, a lot of these steps can be run in unison.
Yes.
At the same time, but the 2 points 5 and 7, I think it was, the network augmentation that's the, yes, 0.5 and 7. So those 2 points, I think, is the most likely thing to delay a lot of the charges here. That's the one thing that really worries me, and that's the one thing that that's the biggest risk, in my opinion, to the project being late once again.
Well, I think the thing is they did mitigate that, and they mitigated it a long time ago. So we had Robin Denholm of Tesla saying that this thing can take up to a year. Well, the point is they mitigated this. I think actually we'll just get to the next few slides, because I think it might say stuff about when things are getting done. Well, in fact, as we know, let's just go to the next slide. Okay, so what was
such a stupid photo?
I know anyway. The point of this slide was to basically explain that they did actually have a lot of these considerations in their planning. So, proximity to amenities. And so every site that was selected, it was selected on the grounds that there were amenities nearby wherever at all possible. And then the preference to access to perpendicular or drive-through car bays. Obviously having at least one DC and one backup unit per site. So that's basically fast DC unit, and the backup is an AC unit. Or it's in some sites where there are 2 DC units, the backup is just the other DC, so you don't need an AC car charger. Each DC charger has 2 hoses, and they can charge concurrently. So basically, and this was in the specification, that let's say if the power output is 100 kilowatts and 2 cars rock up, you basically power share and get 50 kilowatts each. Or if they're 150 kilowatt charges, it'll split down to 75 kilowatts each. And I guess if you're out on the Horizon Power standalone power sites, if it's a 50 kilowatt charger, you'll get 25 kilowatts each. But at least 2 cars will be able to charge at the same time. And then most importantly, and this is a great step actually, and it's great that they've insisted on this, is that you will be able to pay casually with a credit card as a tap and go. So you don't, even though you can use an RFID card, which you have an account connected to, or you can use an app. If you have internet connectivity where you are, you can still fall back and have a credit card casual pay wave purchase.
You know what? That's good, Harold, for tourists who don't have apps in our country, who are from overseas, who can't download the Chargebox Australia or whatever.
Exactly, Russell. And I had that very same thing, and I've mentioned it before. I was in the Netherlands. There happened to be a really nice parking spot, and I had a Model S for hire, or that I'd rented, and I thought, oh, well, opportunistically, I'll park in this awesome parking spot, and I'll plug in, charge the car, everything will be great. So then I look at the bollard, and the bollard had this thing. I think it had a QR code to download an app called Smooth. It was spelled SMOOV, Smooth. So then I went to the App Store and searched for it, found it, clicked on it to go get app, and it said, this app is not available in your jurisdiction because my phone was from Australia. Even though I was a tourist in the Netherlands, it refused to download the app, so therefore I couldn't charge where I wanted to park, so I had to move because I wasn't going to be an EV hole and plug in and not be charging, so I had to park somewhere else. And that, Russell, is exactly the issue with having to use a multitude of apps, which is okay if you live in the same home city, you've done all that in the past or whatever. But if you're a tourist of any kind, whether it's international or even interstate, why do you have to keep checking what the next app is that you need to use? Just everyone's got a PayWave credit card. Just use that, you know. So that was a great thing, and I know personally that that's not an easy thing to accomplish because sadly, almost no hardware providers have this as an inherent thing. They all love to have RFID cards going into servers and all that sort of stuff. Almost none of them offer RFID. PayWave. Okay, so the next slide. Now, we've got to preface this. This is just a stylized design. This is not necessarily an end. You know, this is not the final format. But basically, here you've got the fast DC charger as the reddish rectangle in the middle there, and then in the purple you've got your AC backup. So here you sort of you go either side of basically the DC charger, and you could say that this is a shared bay between the well, actually, I'm not even sure if the AC backup's got two nozzles. I think it might have been specified as just needing one. So this is a typical perpendicular parking setup. You've then got, this is the preferred setup, which is drive-through. So if you've got, this is almost like at a petrol station really, where you've got the island of the DC and the AC chargers, and you've got two bays in line in both directions so that you can be towing a trailer and not have to unhitch.
And you can also have charging on a different side of the car if you've got a different version of a left or right hand side or whatever. It's more accommodating.
Yeah, that's right. So you can sort of have your car, you can sort of go the wrong side of the road or whatever in essence, and you've got much more flexibility in how you where your charge port door is.
And I would love to know how many of the 45 odd stations have got that configuration, because especially on the Horizon network and some of the more regional, more remote sites, I think, you know, that will be really, really key.
I actually think on some of the really remote sites, like if it's a roadhouse, I think there's no issue. I think that'll be actually quite simple and probably be the default.
Yeah.
I know I've got at least one example of Synergy offering drive-through setup. It's at the city of Greater Geraldton. So you can look at the council minutes, and Synergy presented a few, and again, this gets back to site selection. I think they offered 4 different sites or 2 different sites with each with 2 different configurations, whether it was perpendicular or drive-through parking. And they said this, our preference is drive-through parking at one location. The council on their own bat basically voted against that and mandated that the bays they would offer would be perpendicular bays, and that was the end of the story. So again, we should be careful as a community as and when these locations come out, and I think probably the majority will probably be perpendicular, because I think for councils it makes it a lot easier, because you just have 4 bays against the curb, makes it easy for them. You don't need a lot of trenching through bitumen and whatever. And the councils, the problem is, if you give them if you ask them a question and give them 2 alternatives, I'll take the least friction. And in most cases, unfortunately, that's going to be perpendicular parkings. But again, this is not Synergy's fault. It's the council's land, and they can do whatever the hell they want with it, unfortunately. Synergy weren't given a mandate by the WA government, or should I say the WA government's local government minister didn't mandate that councils kowtow and do what Synergy wants. I guess in hindsight, you could say, I wish they had done that, but they haven't. So this is the ideal parking situation, but probably I think going to be in the minority of situations. But yeah, as I said before, I think in the bush, there's no reason why you can't do this at a roadhouse, because land is just not an issue.
Yep.
Moving along, the next steps. So obviously the next step that we're all waiting for is to get the hardware vendor announcement. I mean, the thing is, they've already let the contracts. It's just that the minister, in his wisdom, and I think that's Minister Whitby, is probably waiting for a rainy day to make this happy announcement. So, it's up to the minister to do it when he wants to, and when he feels it's whatever. And then obviously they need to award the software vendor, which is basically, like I said, the equivalent of like a ChargeFox or Smart Charge or whoever. And need to confirm the brand name. Construction commencing end of 2022. So I dare say that's probably things like concrete slabs, the cabling, and all that sort of stuff. And first installation of the actual charge is in early 2023, and fully operational in 2024.
To find out what brand they are, couldn't we just do a similar thing like they do in the US and just check what Nancy Pelosi buys shares for before an announcement?
I guess the question, Russell, is do we have an Australian Nancy Pelosi? I don't know.
John Barilaro maybe, or something like that. I'm sure we can.
No, I really don't know. But yeah, so that's a very good point. And I think we're getting towards the end of these slides. We then got, here we go. This is going to be good. So we're talking about names, and why name it? And I go, I don't care, but to be honest, but obviously you want a unified brand for Synergy Horizon Power. Okay, so let's go.
The suggestion of charging McCharge, I really like.
Yeah, we suggested that.
You broke up a bit there, Nigel. Say that again.
Charging McCharge phone. I think that's the best name going.
Yes.
What is it?
Okay, so
that was me, by the way.
There are those of us that were there, so we're not going to snigger as much as others might. But here are the names that were proposed. The Welcome EV Way, or possibly and hopefully the E-Way, and of course they've capitalised WA because it's Western Australia.
That's going for a whole different market. Maybe you should put the rainbow flag in it as well.
No, that's coming. So we've got the Welcome EV Way or E-Way. We've got the Golden EV Way or E-Way or Drive. It could be the Golden Drive.
I've been wasting time on this shit.
Hang on, we ought to give this serious. We ought to. Oh, anyway, I give up.
Someone gets paid a lot of
Let's
money
just-
to do this.
What's
You
up?
can't just dismiss
Just
it.
click through them, Harold. Quick.
Yeah, okay. Let's just. This one's great too. The gentleman from Horizon went to great lengths to explain that the Magellanic EV way or EV E-way or Magellanic Drive, and I've got to get this fact check, and I'm calling BS on it. But he claimed that Western Australia was the only place where you can see this large and small Magellanic clouds. I think anywhere in the southern hemisphere can do that.
He'd be the guy with the really good
With
hoochie
all
weed.
due respect to our South American and African cousins, I think they can all see the Magellanic Clouds, because I dare think it was Magellan that saw them the first time he came down this end of the woods. Anyway, so then there's also the Connect EV Way, E-Way, or Connect Way, and that was basically the end of the presentation.
If you're interested, they had a quick vote, so we could pull out our phones and try and vote on those 4 and rank them. And they came in the following order. So Connect was number 1, Welcome was number 2, Golden was number 3, and Magellanic was number 4.
Yes.
Or something.
So, I mean, look, the good thing is I don't, it just doesn't matter what the hell they call it. No one cares, you know.
People do care, Harold, just not us.
Yeah.
We know
Actual-
one person cares. We
actual
know one person
drivers.
cares. That's for sure.
But you know what? If it was a totally awesome name and it cost money and I lived in the town right next door and I got free solar, then I still wouldn't use it. And if it was a really sucky, stupid name and I was doing a road trip, I still would use it, wouldn't I? So it really doesn't matter.
Makes no difference.
But yeah, so for instance, the Queensland one is called, it's a QESH, which stands for the Queensland Electric Superhighway, because you can't just have a highway, you had to have a superhighway. So that's kind of pretty spacky in my opinion, with all due respect to SPACs, whatever.
Harold, the takeout for me on that whole presentation was right at the end, and there was a couple of people sort of asking them, well, you know, what about phase 2? You know, so by the time we get to the end of 2024 and you've got, you know, one 80 kilowatt charger with 2 hoses up in the boondocks there, I mean, we're going to have 10 cars queued up there in school holidays and things like that. I mean, we got half a dozen cars queuing up at Jurien Bay now in the school holidays, right? So what's going to be like when the highway's completed to Kununurra? And I guess, and the takeout I took was there's no plan to do any more. And the idea is that this is a catalyst for private enterprise to, you know, start putting in charges around the place. So
yeah, and if they make the charging too cheap, then private enterprise aren't going to get into it. So it's all a double-edged sword, isn't it?
But even if you charge $5 a kilowatt hour, you know, no private enterprise is going to put something in, you know, in the middle of whoop whoop if there's no, you know, if the business case isn't there. So yeah, it's, you know, the role of government is to really plug the holes that free market generates, you know.
The role of government's to serve the people, and they've forgotten what they're there for.
Yeah.
But this has always been considered a trailblazing exercise. It's build it and they will come. And I think you're right. I think there is going to be this painful period. Well, put it this way. There's a few of us in this room that have done it, and there are a few more that are going to do it. But there is nothing more painful than driving 6,500 kilometres between, let's call it Geraldton now, because there is fast DC charging now all the way to Geraldton. And that was only there for the last 12 months or so. But you can drive 6,500 kilometres from Geraldton to Broome to Darwin to Townsville before you get your first fast DC charger. And trust me, when you go day in, day out on nothing but AC charging, you kind of get a bit sick of it. So once they blaze the trail, it's going to be awesome because there'll be no one using it initially. and then you'll get this pain point where it gets busy and you'll get pissed off because there'll be 3 cars waiting and you're annoyed and whatever. And then it'll get a bit worse because, again, no business is coming in because they only want to milk the low-hanging fruit, like Ampol. At the moment, with the arena funding, it's only strictly for capital cities, but there is going to be rural funding later. So there'll be that pain point. But then eventually, once it's established, like in Norway, you can't throw a rock and not hit a fast DC charger in Norway almost.
I would have thought though, you know, like part of the government's role is state planning, right? And you know, when the question got asked, somebody asked, you know, have you made provision for expansion, right? So, you know, if you're going to go there and dig you're going to allocate the bays, you're going to dig a trench, you're going to put all this, you know, you're going to buy a transformer. Why wouldn't you put the conduits in big enough and the cables big enough? You know, maybe the transformer you can duplicate, or you know, prepare to double what we got. The cost is probably incremental cost is probably 10 or 15% of the whole project. Plan for that because you know it's going to happen. It's probably going to be not long after they open the highway up. It's going to be congested.
Oh, sure.
Anyway, that you know they really diverted any questions to do with, you know, future provision or phase 2 or anything like that.
No, they were very clear, John. They basically said once this highway is done, that's it for them. That is their entire scope. That's their entire remaining interest. That's all the interest, the whole interest that the WA government has expressed in this entire project is this project, and that's it. It's a one shot, and they are then taking their bat and ball and going home. They're going to declare victory, and that's it. That's all they were ever going to do. There's zero notion that they're going to ever expand it, ever, never.
Bit disappointing. I mean, it's great what we're getting, right? It's great, but you know, how long has it taken? 5 years to get from the early lobbying days, or even 6 years might be, to get to this, and then just, you know, we know we're on the brink of the uptake of EVs, and you know, everybody and they want people to travel around WA. It just seems to me just very short vision. Disappointing.
Yep, and for $22 million, that's the total spend, less than on ramp.
Fuck all. Especially when they give Twiggy like 30 mil to have some hydrogen buses. I mean, come on.
How about 40 million for a swimming pool in Perth that we don't need?
Yeah.
Yep. So imagine if you had like 50 million or 100 million, dare I say.
How about they just give 50 million to Tesla and go for it and be done with it, and then we can have a good network.
Even if they gave that 20 million to Tesla on the condition that they chip in another 20 million, I mean, we would have had a much more reliable network. So this is the good question that Russell asked, which was, you know, we know the experience of the US where, you know, at times 25% of the charges are out of action. You know, what's going to be the response time if a charger goes down, you know, 2,000 from Perth?
Was
that question answered, Russell?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, what they said was they didn't answer it very well, but they did answer it in a way. I think they misunderstood my question. They referred to the eastern states of Australia, which I don't know the statistics of the charges that are out over there, but they said they've been focusing on that, not the US. And they said they're aiming for a 98%.
95.
95%. 95%. They didn't say how they were going to do it. Like, I could aim for 100%, but fucking, I mean, what, GM are planning on selling more EVs than Tesla in 3 years, aren't they? I mean, fuck, like, you could say anything you want. There's no actual concrete evidence to back any of it up.
That 95%, I can guarantee you now that is not going to happen.
It's probably closer to the other end of the spectrum, 95% not working than working. You can't stop a bet on it. Yeah, because these remote areas, the initial novelty of having them there and people vandalizing them is going to be like next level when they first start up until they get bored of smashing the pieces. And the amount of money they're going to have to spend on operational expenses is going to far surpass the amount of money they're spending on building the damn things. I don't think they've got any budget for the operations.
I think that 5% downtime rate is going to be at least threefold more than what they anticipate.
A classic example of that vandalism, we don't have to go very far.
Margaret River.
Yeah, Mandurah. You only got to look at Mandurah to see.
It's Alex's area. Alex does that. Going and vandalising stuff all the time. Look at him. It's a bloody troublemaker.
You almost need to leave. You almost need to have the cables on site.
So this is Margaret River, and that is what you're looking at there is $3,000 of damage that probably occurred in less than 10 seconds. So each one of these cables costs $1,500, and that's Margaret River. But mind you, Tesla's superchargers aren't immune from the same vandalism. In the States, there are people that militantly, they actually just cut the whole cable off and pinch the copper, the whole shooting match. And they do it manually.
I did say, I think it was last year, one thing you can do, these have all got connections because they've got a blooming credit card reader. Tesla are putting up their Starlink on the top of them. Have a little camera.
Yeah,
absolutely. 100%.
Cameras catch everything.
Yeah, and it can be a 360 camera sitting on top.
Yep.
And it can catch pictures.
That's it.
Just put a fake camera on that, might just do something.
No, they can spot the fake ones.
Actually, the Mandurah ones, there actually is a proper camera, a real one, and they still vandalise it inside of the camera.
Alex wears a balaclava then.
Just get Alex to tag them all before he goes there. They'll know it's his hood and they won't touch it.
Yeah, that's it.
True.
Throw some shoes over the top of it with your shoelaces hanging over the edge and mark your territory, and it'll keep the other crew out.
The other thing too, the Mandurah charge is actually still down at the moment, so no one can use it.
Yes.
It's been down for a while, hasn't it, Alex?
Yeah, it's been down for quite a few months now, I think. Apparently waiting for parts.
That old bullshit, eh?
Bullshit. Yeah, that old card.
Well, it's actually true. It's just that not Synergy.
RSC.
No.
Charge.
Tritium. No, Tritium.
Oh, that's right.
Because most of these charges are tritium charges that are damaged or have problems. So, for example, the Lake Grace charger was down, and it was frustratingly down for about 3 weeks, nearly, before someone there actually plugged a laptop in and put it on free vend, because there's a communications module that's waiting to be replaced.
With the charging things that they smash, right? Why can't they have a mechanism that it's actually holstered and you've got to pay for it before you pull it off, like you do at banks to get into the ATMs?
Almost no hardware does that, frustratingly. Like even in Europe, they just, maybe they're a more mature market, I don't know what it is, but almost none of them offer that as a service.
We're trying to go to Mars, right? That's a thing. I can't understand how that sort of simple idea isn't executed already.
Well, because we're a small market, we're a rounding error to EVP use. That's the problem. And in the civilized world, let's call that Europe, dare I say, they just don't have that issue to that sort of degree at all.
What about the market's larger and people are more, I guess, accepting of it? Is that the reason?
Yeah, I think so. And probably because they're in better locations. They're in 24-hour
hubs,
fuel stations and stuff. Sorry, John, you were going to say something.
Well, I reckon, those, give it have electric shock going on the handle, right? And pay for it, right? So the little fuckers get hold of it, they get a fucking boot in the ass, right? That's all we need.
It's similar to Bali, where they put the glass bottles on top of the fence and smash them. If you climb over the fence, but unfortunately,
can't do that in Australia.
Yeah, the council, I spoke to them about the council at my place. They said, no, we can't do that in Belmont.
Oh, they might hurt themselves.
Yeah, and you get sued. That's right. Cool. Okay, so we've chewed up enough time with that, obviously. But I mean, it was a great evening, and it was very generous of Synergy. I mean, not just Synergy, the company, but actually mostly the employees, because none of them got overtime for doing this. It was all on a voluntary basis, and they did a really good job, And again, it's not easy for them because no doubt there were some questions that they wanted to answer more openly, but when it comes to nitty gritty, who's your vendor? It's like, we can't tell you, unfortunately. Otherwise, well, we could, but then we just get sacked, and that's not going to help anyone. Or at least.
By the way, that was initiated by Sandra Geary, right?
Yes.
So I reckon good thumbs up to Sandra. She's been a great advocate, and she's been a great networker. Yep. And full marks to put it, because they didn't want to do it. I didn't see any of them too enthusiastic, right? But it actually was pretty good to have some community engagement, information session. Obviously, there's a lot of interest, so good on Sandra.
Yeah, and I had two separate people come up to me after the presentation and say, how good was this? Obviously, it's only touched the surface. Wouldn't it be great if we could have a couple more of these sessions? So the fact that, I don't know, there was 80 spots and all 80 were taken. I don't know how long it took to sell out, even though there was no cost. But
not even days. It was. What happened was there were originally going to be 60, and obviously I got the email out, and then Eva was supposed to get their email out, very shortly after, but that didn't happen. So within, I think it was halfway through the second day, the 60 was sold out. So then Sandra managed to negotiate to get another 20 slots, which then Ant distributed. I think it was via an Excel spreadsheet. No, they did send an email out as well.
Oh yeah,
and that they were then allocated. So yeah,
that just shows you the interest.
There was only one. I only got one complaint about the evening. There was some annoying bloke in the back corner on the left hand side asking these big long-winded questions, not once but about 3 times. Does anyone know who that was?
I don't know. He was filibustering quite a lot.
Was it the Sunday Times? Was that the same one? Page 3 from Sunday Times.
It was only twice, and the second question was very concise. Relative.
That was only 4 minutes.
I've got a question for Mark. Mark, who's installing your Powerwall tomorrow? You're muted. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
No, you unmute, Mark. You got to unmute. You're muted. Stop. You're muted.
That's better. Yeah. Check 1, 2. Hello.
Sorry. Clean energy.
Energy. Okay, cool.
Clean NRG.
Well, I think it's clean energy that are subcontracting it to Go Solar.
Okay.
Cool.
So it goes from Tesla to clean energy to Go Solar. Nice and simple.
But yeah, definitely, Mark. Do suss out. Just personally, I'm going
to suss that out, whether it's actually going to disconnect just my.
No, it doesn't.
But just disconnect me going back onto the grid, or whether it's going to isolate me as an island, so I can still get input, but I get isolated as far as the actual solar goes. That still charges me Powerwall.
Maybe just overnight while you're sleeping on it, just have a thought experiment. Because to be honest, there is one slight advantage in them taking the whole house off if there's an event like that, because it means that your solar is still pumping into your Powerwall at the time.
That's what I'm thinking, and I'll have to just verify. I did ask the question. I may have understood it incorrectly. What he may be saying is it stops my ability to export, but I can still import. So I'll become an island, but with an import still.
It will never prevent you from being able to import, because then you'd be without power. So that goes without saying. And my understanding is that it doesn't.
Well, there's only the one cable, though, isn't there?
Yes,
but there's a contactor. There's basically
there is a contactor.
You're getting the meter solution, which is they have a module attached to the meter, which has a dry contact. You then have a pair of cables, or cable pair, going to a contactor, which will be in series, which will be connected to your inverter, your old inverter, and it will basically disconnect, literally in AC, disconnect with a circuit breaker, with a contactor, your inverter. Your Powerwall will still be connected.
Yeah,
because I think they accept. Well, your Powerwall isn't solar; it's a battery. There's no policy on disconnecting batteries or telling batteries what to do.
Yeah.
There's a policy on telling solar generators.
And the Powerwall can only export. Only supply the house. It can't export or
Well,
pull
it can.
power in anyway.
Well, it can, but not in your case. So if it was a virtual power plant, if you connect it like in South Australia and in the eastern states, it could actually export.
But over here we're not
but it
allowed
won't.
to. Yeah.
Yes. Well, then there's no market to do that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, what you just wouldn't do it. Why would you do it?
No. Although, Pete, I think you can do it if you want to get arbitrage for your the DEBs, which is you get your 3 cents and then you get 10 cents after 3 p.m.
But there's no arbitrage because okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Yes,
so you could
top your power wall up when you're on cheap solar. Cheap power off the grid.
No, when there's sun, when you've got plenty of sun and you can fill your power wall up, so by 3 p.m. you could then predict that you can probably give half of back to the grid and get 10 cents a unit for it.
Yeah, precisely,
And the only time you do that is if you still knew you had plenty in the battery to get you to the next day. And you then have to take into account, it being a rainy day the next day and not charging the battery up. So
how big is your inverter, Mark?
It's only a 3.8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 3.8 with 3.8 with 4.4 kilowatts of panels.
So anything over 5 kilowatts, there's no feeding tariff.
Yep, that's right.
You get nothing.
Yeah, so I'm okay on that side.
Did you buy the battery separately or did you buy it together with the solar system?
No, I've had the solar system for 11 years.
How much?
It's just the battery by itself.
Do you mind me asking how much you're forking out for the panel?
I can't remember exactly. I think it's around about 14, 15K. Yeah, it's never going to pay for itself, realistically. Well, not in a long time anyway.
Maybe 10 years if you're lucky. But
yeah, precisely.
Okay,
not doing it from that point of view.
So that's a gateway and the battery.
Yeah, the gateway and the battery.
Yeah, installed.
Yeah, installed.
That's pretty good.
When did you sign up for that?
Probably about 14 months ago, 15 months ago.
Yeah, that makes sense because so that's quite an expensive price for 14 months ago, but it's quite a cheap price for now. So now you're looking at a couple of grand more.
I started getting it then, but then I had a problem. I was loaded with electrical work I needed to do on the house, and there's no point doing all the electrical work and then having to swap all the circuits back over. So I kept putting it on hold while things were happening. But unfortunately, it was an uncle of mine who's one thing and reason or other, it got delayed a long time.
Well, all right, let's just park some solar stuff for a bit because no doubt there's
Harold, could I jump in very quickly and just mention to Mark and Peter, it's not always about the economics. Because I'm looking at my backup history. I've had 21 outages, totaling 21 hours. Longest was 10 hours. And if I hadn't have had my power wall, I would have been, no power.
Yeah.
So it's not just economics.
Oh, absolutely.
No, I'm not. Last thing I'm doing it for is economics.
No. When I used to work for the previous company where I used to work, we were given sort of double the commissions for selling a battery. And so I would always start by explaining to people that if you're doing it for economic reasons, the best thing is to wait. But if you've got any other reason other than economic to buy one, I'd love to sell you one. And the best reason I ever got is because I won one. And that was good enough for me.
Okay, so let's speaking of people that want things, there are a lot of newer owners that either want their car to be delivered because they're still waiting for it, or they want to understand better the awesome car they've just gotten. So if there's anyone newer, if you've got any sort of pressing questions or even you're just curious, just let me know. So feel free to just jump up and yell out and yell out a question. And there's no such thing as a silly question or one that, you presume that, everyone knows. So,
I've
please.
got a question.
No, Jared, you have got an old car. You don't get the question yet. You get questions later when I run out of questions. And then I ask for a question.
I got a question. Oh, all right.
So anyone, I see a few people. John, have you got a question?
I do, Harold. Hi.
Awesome.
We met last night. You were telling me about a plug that you can buy that will allow you to download all the data. Could you?
Yes. I'm going to take that on notice for a few minutes, because what I need to do is I need to go down to my car and pull it out of my center console, because the question that John's going to ask is about getting a dongle, a CAN bus monitoring dongle for a Model 3 or a Y for that matter. So you can monitor things like battery voltages, state of charge and all that sort of stuff. And I really apologize, John. Yeah, that was on my
no, that's okay. I mean, we can talk about it next week if you want.
Oh, no. We will definitely do it tonight. So, in fact, okay, so Nigel, I don't know if you had a real question, but yeah, I know Jared does. So
I'll let Jared go first.
Jared,
go.
Go,
buddy.
I updated my software the other day to 2022.20.6. And since I've updated, it says my car is in lot 14 Nelson Road in West Perth, which is quite strange because I just went out the garage where I live in Belmont and the car's still there. But it's been saying it's at this lot in West Perth for the last week, and it's not there, but it's saying it's there. Is that normal?
That's weird.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that's strange. So, of course, I naturally rebooted everything, and, of course, it's still doing the same thing, saying that the car is in lot 14 in West Perth. So, right near the racetrack, which is great.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but
hey, that's awesome. Thanks, Jared. And thank you mostly in particular that gave me the opportunity to do a little bit of homework. So, John, there's a few answers to this question. Can I trust myself to do this? Yes, maybe. Okay, so if you go to a website called Scan My Tesla, strangely so, so it's just scanmytesla.com, and then you click on adapters, and you scroll down. You've got OBD2 to Bluetooth or Wi-Fi adapters, and I from memory, I think you've got an iPhone. So you've got three choices. You've got the OBD Link MX Plus. I don't even know what the J Wardell's CAN server is. And something interesting, which you might find interesting, is the sexy buttons. Now, I know the follow-up question to that is going to be, what the hell are sexy buttons?
Steering wheel knobs.
Yes. So, in fact, if I click on them, it should go to hopefully sexy buttons. Yes, it does. And I actually ordered these last night, as a matter of fact. I ordered white ones. So just quickly, as a slight tangent, what the sexy buttons can do, and if you go to the actual buttons themselves, no, is that right? It does show what the functions are. View more. Right. No, that's not going to work. Sorry, I'm going to have to do this offline. But there's a whole list of actual things I can do. Like you can get a button to open the boot, and you may say, well, why do you want to do that for? It's like, well, it can be more convenient than using a menu.
Or the glove box is a good one.
The glove box. And another one is if you've got a Type 2 cable that you use often, you can put a sexy button on it, and you can press the button, and it'll open your charge port door without having to use your iPhone app or whatever.
We need open the charge port to be handy.
So you're suggesting that I do that, Harold?
Shane Parker's got his set up like that.
Yes, and I'm trying to find. So you've actually got.
Did you want me to give you the link, Harold?
Sorry, say again.
I'll send you the link to where it is, because you're on the wrong screen. There you go. Try that one.
There it is. Thanks, Russell. Oh, that didn't. Yep, there we go. So if we just look at the extreme, the middle column or the right hand. Actually, I think the Y is going to be much the same. So if you just look at the far right hand column, you've basically got things like you can open the glove box, the bonnet, the boot or the bonnet. You can change the acceleration if you wanted to, the modes quickly from chill or sport. The regen, if you don't like, anyway, if you think that the standard regen is too much, you can actually back it off to either no regen or 25, 50% or 75%. You can also they're discrete. You can just have one button just do that, or you can have it basically go increasing and it sort of cycles round, or decreasing, cycling round, looping around. You can have a separate button for autopilot if you don't think the stalk is a convenient way of doing that. You can turn media up and down, charge port, open, unlock, close. That could be quite useful. Sorry, if someone's going to say something. John, was that?
No, that's so. How do you buy these buttons, and then what do you do? How do you get them connected to the thing?
Yeah, so basically, what you do is you plug this commander, which is an OBD device, into the back of your center console, effectively using an adapter cable. I don't have one handy; it's downstairs, but it's basically in line. You take a panel off the bottom of your center console where the back seats are, or where your feet would be if you're sitting in the back seats, and then you unplug a connector, which is mated male and female, and you basically put in this duplicator. It basically splices in an OBD cable, which you can then plug this commander unit into, and that's basically the Bluetooth communications to your CAN bus, which these sexy buttons, which are RF buttons, they're 433.92 megahertz, or actually there might be Bluetooth buttons, and they're addressable, and they, up to 8 of those buttons go into the commander, which then sends commands into your CAN bus to make changes to the way your car behaves.
One thing to make mention of before you unplug the cable, you need to turn the car off. It can take a couple of minutes for it to actually turn off. So I think it's under safety, power off. And in one of the videos I watched, they were also suggesting to turn off the mobile access as well. Yeah.
You can also pop the main plug underneath the back seat as well to make sure if you don't want to wait. That noise.
Which one's that, Russell? Is that another?
No, so the main high voltage connection is under the rear seat.
Gotcha.
You just pop that open, and then you can just close it again straight away, but it kills it straight away.
Yeah, cool.
And I just put a link, Harold, there as well to the cables that you were.
Oh yes, okay. Thanks, Russell. You're being a very good producer tonight.
Hey, Russell, check your messenger.
So it basically looks like this. Well, both really the same. So as Peter described, that's a bit too zoomed in, but you can see that it's basically splices in, and you've got the OBD connector there, which you plug this commander unit into. Now, one reason why I'm mentioning that is that we're getting back to Scan My Tesla, so we can get back to sexy buttons in a minute, but the sexy buttons actually also offers a means of using Scan My Tesla on an iPhone without needing to buy a separate dongle. So you can either buy the OBD Link MX Plus, and I've personally got one of these, and this works really well.
It's a lot more expensive though. Like it's like double the price.
It is bloody expensive. So for the price, you might as well actually buy sexy buttons, where you actually get 4 sexy buttons,
and you get the cable as well.
And it only costs you
$269, and euros and US dollars are the same price at the moment. That's it there, Harold. Yep, that one.
Yeah,
on the right.
yeah, the 2. Or you get, say, 4 for, say, 269 or 270 euros, which is not bad. You get for the twice as many buttons. So really, that might be better overall value than just buying just the OBD Link for 139, and this would be US dollars. So again, that's in US dollars, and you've also got to buy for about $30. You can actually get this on Amazon. I actually got it on Amazon and got it delivered next day for about $30 Australian.
Just be careful as well, though. The sexy buttons still require additional functionality on them to keep up to date. So if you're relying on the functionality and you update your car, there could be functionality that's not ported across in the newer update. And they've actually got a page in their website which shows the last tested version. And that the actual updates might need to happen to get the sexy buttons to continue to work on a newer version of software.
Oh, gotcha. So you got to update the commander with
Yeah.
your phone to make it continue to work on the CAN bus. Yeah.
If they change the code, it makes it
Yes.
not work or whatever, they'd have to update it. Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and
it's
it
not a
is
deal breaker for everybody, but someone might be so dependent on it, it's a deal breaker. Who knows?
absolutely, but it can. There are some interesting things. You know, something we're going to discover, particularly with the Model Ys coming, is it's that all of those cars are going to use what's called Tesla Vision, which means that autopilot only uses the cameras and not the radar unit. And one thing we do know about that, courtesy of, well, quite a few YouTubers, including Bjorn Nyland, is that the one thing that at the moment autopilot insists on with so-called Tesla Vision is that you've got to have auto high beams enabled, otherwise it won't engage. And you also have to have auto wipers enabled. Now, everyone knows auto high beams is sucky. In fact, there's a really great, very recent, it's only a few days ago, that Bjorn Nyland did a video on a freeway, and he showed the number of times that his car blinded oncoming traffic, and even was sort of somewhat blinding traffic he was following, because it would just turn the headlights on with gay abandon and then finally get round to turning them off if it could be bothered. The other thing it does, which upsets me, is it puts auto wipers, and I use Rain-X, which that's a little pro tip. If you put Rain-X on your car and you keep it well coated, you don't need wipers once you're doing more than about 50 k's an hour or even 40 k's an hour. The water just beads so far off your windscreen, it's just not funny. You just never have to use wipers.
Like your head in the rain, Harold.
Rain-X is awesome. It's up there with clothes dryers and dishwashers.
Yes, it is, Damo. It is. It really
I've got
is
that on there.
the best thing since.
Can I share a video of someone using the button on the back of their car? Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely, Russell. Go for it.
I'll do that. Just give us 1 second.
While are you doing that,
Oh,
Russell?
while you do, I can ask a question.
I'll just quickly make this point while we're still talking about the OBD dongle. I put one in this morning and it literally took less than 3 minutes. It is so easy to do and to plug in. And the fact that I can do it means that most people should be able to do it blindfolded.
It's bit proof.
Yeah.
There you go. Boom, job done.
But we've got it.
That's Shane Parker's setup. He runs the cones cable like me, Harold.
Yep. That's it. And look, I reckon that's actually a great application for it. I actually bought two kits, because I have one for my car and one for my wife's car, but you can share the button with the two commanders, I'm pretty sure. So you can basically use one button for one charge cable. And I reckon that's actually, because I happen to have a cable just like that as my charger. So yeah, that's awesome, Russell.
Paul was going to say something before.
Oh, yeah, go, Paul.
Yep. I've got one thing where on the app, the charge stakes, they've added work.
Yes.
To it as well.
Oh, cool.
But that was just a thing. And then I actually wanted to ask a question. My car, when it does an update, is always like 5:30 in the morning when I want to use the bloody thing. And I know that you can do advanced or standard or something like that, but is there a way that we can actually schedule the software updates?
There is.
As soon as it's available, you go.
Yeah.
No, when you when it comes through, you can either go install or you can go schedule, and as soon as it gives you the clock.
No. The problem I had in the last two updates is it's just started, and so, like downloading, not installing. So I've had to wait for the download to finish, and then jump in the car and then gone to work.
You don't need to.
And then installed it.
No, just take off, because all that'll happen is it'll 2/3 download and it'll just stop downloading, because once it gets off Wi-Fi, it won't use your mobile phone network. And when you get back onto Wi-Fi, it'll just recommence,
It
or
won't
it
install.
might restart.
I've had mine downloaded for like 2 weeks before I installed it. It doesn't affect, like you'll just sit there and wait. And when you turn the car on and say, do you want to install it? You just press the X and cancel it.
Oh no, the install I've done when I've gone to work, when I've actually got to work. But the downloading stuff, you know, like it just automatically started downloading, and I want to go, what the hell?
Yeah,
So,
it doesn't matter.
but don't worry about it. You don't worry.
Okay.
Just let it download.
Okay.
And if you wanted to install it at work and it's halfway through downloading, if you can be bothered, while you're driving along, just tether your car to your mobile, and it'll use your phone's data while you're driving and download, because it's on Wi-Fi. So you can do that too if you wanted. But don't worry about it downloading. It's not going to do anything.
Oh, that's all right. It's just done it to me the last couple of updates, and I've just gone, I need to get to work.
As a matter
Just
of
a quick
interest,
question.
if anybody's measured, how big are these updates in terms of megs?
Depends. They're about a gigabyte.
Yeah.
So Harold, answer to my question. What should I basically just get some sexy buttons in, so I can fix my car keeps saying that I'm in East Perth. I put like a button over in East Perth and then keep a button at the house, and I can sort of like work out where the car is. Because seriously, right now it's saying
Jared, the only answer to that is just put it in your service request. Yeah, it's
no sexy buttons in.
No.
Yeah.
No sexy for you.
When your car's driving, does it actually show the map properly and your location on the map?
I haven't looked at that, so I'll have a look at that next.
Jared, it might also be worthwhile just uninstalling your Tesla app and reinstalling it.
Yeah, I tried that.
No, that didn't work either. No. Just a thought that sometimes fixes
Oh
that.
yeah, they call that's a IT thing. You have to go to uni for 5 years to be able to say it's called doing a hard restart. They call it. It's a technical term. Turn it off and on.
Sort of.
Jared,
not taking it off.
Just wondering, are you absolutely sure?
Ant?
Yes, it's me. It's me.
Is it you from the RAC? Ant from the RAC?
No, Jared, it's Ant.
It's just Ant.
Ant is the chairman of the Electric Vehicle Association WA branch.
I've just got Carmen in the corner wearing the blue trunks.
And because he hasn't got enough to do, he's also the secretary, because he believes that if you want something done, you've got to do it yourself. And that means when the chairman asks the secretary to do something, there's nowhere to hide. Go ahead. Sorry, I was interrupting.
I have arguments with myself all the time. No, I was just going to say, Jared, are you sure about this GPS thing? You sure? Because that location that you briefly flashed up there looks like City West Massage. I
was there earlier. Then I moved, and when I upgraded at the racetrack where I like to go gambling during the day, because the Belmont race, whatever it is, what's the racetrack? It's the Dogs, I think, or the Trots. That's where I seem to be at. So.
Hey, Jared, your wife, has she got the Tesla app for your car on her phone as well?
Yes, she does.
And where does it show it on her phone?
The same place.
Oh, that's a bit tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I thought I was in the world of absolute. So.
That kind of says the car thinks it's in a different spot. So have you reset the car?
It does. Oh, no, I've got to go reset the car. That would be my next step.
So your car's online, Jared? It says it's communicating now. Like you can see what the state of charge is and all that.
Can you like switch the aircon on or something? And
it's right there, Park.
Can you turn the aircon on and turn the aircon off?
Yep. Aircon on. There we go.
Hey, Jared, put a service request in, but before you go in,
I'm going to turn the car off and on.
But before you go in, just check that it's, that it isn't working, because there's a good chance that that's one of the problems that they can fix remotely.
Yeah.
So once you put your service request in, you'll give them the heads up about the problem. They might log in and fix it for you before you actually go in.
I just got the tail end of this. What's the problem? Sorry, I just got the tail end of it.
He thinks his car thinks it's in West Perth, even though it's definitely not as we speak. So
located.
It's actually, Jared, I think Pete's suggestion, like you could literally put a service request in now, and I think there's a chance if you put in the description, the the screen interface or whatever. Oh, I forget what it's called.
I want to go and turn. I'm going to turn the
infotainment.
car off and on and see if I can do the old double hold
Double,
button.
yeah, that might fix it. Otherwise, someone in Tesla might log into your car and just do that for you.
Yeah.
And you might wake up in the morning and it'll just go away because they do that. They do read those service requests.
Yeah.
Take a screen capture of your phone.
I just thought it was funny that it happened as soon as I upgraded to 2022.20.6. Is everyone on that one?
No,
I'm
still on 16.
Yeah.
Just thought it was funny because it happened straight after that. So I thought to myself.
Speaking of which, Jason Hughes, he actually reported on Twitter that with 2022.6.7, it goes to an insane level of degree of minutiae, really, for your range calculation.
Even tire pressure.
Tire pressures, which is actually, that's a very good one. But it even he says that it even allegedly includes phone charging and 12-volt accessories, which is going a bit far. But hey, you know, if it just
in the
a few extra
Model Y, you could have a Ingle plugged in. What does that draw? That would draw a bit.
100 watts.
Yeah.
Which considering that your Model Y would need about 15 kilowatts to maintain 100 k's an hour, or say 14 kilowatts or even 13 kilowatts, 100 watts is kind of a decimal point, really, isn't it? But I guess it still adds up.
And going on to that with the power usage, this was the point I wanted to try to make earlier. My wing mirror was not going out or not coming in, and I was having to get them to go in and out to get it to go in the right spot. So I put in a service request, and while I was at it, I also put in a service request to have a look at the battery and the power usage, because for some time now, my power consumption has been increasing dramatically. I'm using 200 plus watt hours per kilometre at the moment.
Cool.
Yeah, I know. And basically, well, no, and that's driving at the speed limit. Honest. Honest. No, it was. So they checked the battery and they said, your battery's fine. Your drive motor's drawing the right amount of power, but your aircon is sucking the juice out the battery, and the battery heater's going crazy because of the cold weather. Now, I did say, I understand winter time you use a bit more power, but because I don't have the heat pump, I'm using 50% more electrons during the cold weather. And even when I turned the aircon off and tried it, I was still using 176 watt hours per kilometre instead of the 140, 145, whatever that I was using. So that's the battery being.
It's a polite way of saying loosen weight, Nigel.
Back off, Russell.
So for anyone that's in the room, or more importantly, watching this on YouTube, the preface here is that Nigel's car, yes, it's a Model 3, but it's a Fremont older Model 3, which uses a resistive, literally a bar heater, basically an air-cooled bar heater to heat his cabin. So that is something that none of the new Model 3s or Model Ys, or in fact the mythical new Model S's and X's, have to contend with. They use a heat pump very, very efficiently. So what Nigel's describing is something that anyone that's got a new car will never experience. But yeah, it's dead right, Nigel. Those heaters can
dry.
And in Europe,
have you tried?
In the old days, there was a huge issue for Teslas and all EVs because they were terrible in winter, because they could use the slower you drive, you might be drawing a kilowatt to move creep forward, but your heater's sucking out 7 kilowatts continually.
Have you tried your heated seats, or have you got those?
Yes, I turn the aircon off and I put on the heated seats to keep warm. But then when it's a bit damp outside, I got to turn the blooming thing on to defog the windscreen. So you've got to have it on for that, otherwise you can't bloody see. So yeah, I'd be lucky. Normally I could get 300 plus out of the battery. It'll do 340 to 350 according to the screen, but I'm not getting 200.
I'd like to
for
say
Model Y, Nigel. I think I dare say.
Why coming in a few weeks? Yes.
So speaking of which, and this is important for anyone that's ordering a car, have you got what's your EDD, your estimated delivery date?
The last 2 weeks in August.
Right. So the 16th to the 30th.
No, I think it's the 22nd to the 5th, something like that.
Right. Gotcha. Cool.
I mean, I ordered on the 25th of February, just a standard rear-wheel drive with 18-inch rims, and my estimated date at the moment is still August to November.
Would have been 19-inch wheels if it was the Model Y.
Oh, sorry, 19-inch, yeah.
So Lance, I fear you need to steel yourself for getting a November delivery. I'm quite confident. If you don't have a VIN yet, I don't think you're going to get it this quarter.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
So I think that's going to.
If someone pulls out, that's probably why they're still keeping your hopes up in case people cancel their deliveries.
Yeah, well, of course, because I've ordered the bigger wheels, it probably won't fall in those categories.
No, it's nothing to do with that, Lance. It's the fact that Pete Petrosky and Harold Murphy have ordered about 20 cars each, and they're taking up the first major consignment. So, that's the first point. Because Harold's offering a new service. Not only can you get a lead that he will sell leads, he's now going to be selling Model Ys on the side.
No, he's not.
Actually, and by the way, every 4 hours a day, 4 times a day.
But by the way, Tesla's stated policy, and this is important, and I haven't read the terms and conditions, but Tesla do not permit the on-selling of cars.
No.
If they find out that a car's being on-sold, they will cancel the order. They've actually sought for us as a club to report to them if we're aware of any. Particularly, you get those Facebook ads, where some guy goes, I'm changing jobs and I've got this new Model Y coming, and unfortunately I have to sell it before it's arrived, of course.
Yeah.
And it's only going to cost an extra $8,000 above the sticker price.
Yeah.
I was about to say, if you get delivery, then put it on for sale. They can't cancel your order because you've already bloody got it.
No, but
there's a period. There's a contracted period, Nigel, in your agreement that specifies how soon after you're allowed to sell it.
Yeah, I'm not intending to sell it.
No, but I mean, all you got to do is make that period and you can sell it.
Just hang on half a second.
Just a quick one, Jared.
The type on it.
Sorry, Mark.
Jared, just very, very quick one. I've just gone on my phone to see what my location was, and it's just come down. There's a new software update just coming down to 12:27. So that might fix it if it updates.
Okay, thank you very much,
So
Mark.
you might be getting it very shortly. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I hope so. Okay.
That's making me look at the software update too for my car. Go, Russell.
I've got software update envy, I'm afraid.
Me too.
Oh, I've got the that document that's got all the details in about the order stuff. So.
Oh yes, that's right. Because look, like I said before, it's something that Tesla is seeking the assistance of the clubs, that if they see anyone that is effectively scalping Teslas, and like I said, we've all seen it on Facebook, for they're requesting that we submit those infractions to Tesla so they can then deal with it harshly.
There's a thing here that says reselling, discontinuation, cancellation. It says that we'll cancel your order and refund your order fee. Hang on. No, sorry. Tesla and its affiliates sell cars directly to end customers, and we may ultimately cancel any order that we believe has been made with a view towards resale of the vehicle, or that otherwise been made with bad faith. So you've got to buy it with intent to keep it. But I would assume if you bought it and there's a legitimate reason why you need to sell it after you purchased it, you could sell it on. But it definitely doesn't allow for you to actually sell your spot in the queue.
With the intention, and having ordered it with the intention to sell it.
Yeah. So if someone hypothetically has pre-ordered 10 Cybertrucks at the same time, there's no intent to keep 10 Cybertrucks. So I would doubt very, very much that person will be able to buy 10 Cybertrucks at once.
Unless they're a plumbing
Unless they
business.
coughed up the money.
No, but even if they did, there's no intent to keep 10 of them. 9 of them or 8 of them will be for resale.
Why not? Why not?
While we're on the subject of
Someone want to
scams
have
and
a
stuff,
fleet.
Oh,
I don't know if
go out.
I don't know if it's come up before in this forum, but I've noticed quite recently over the last couple of months that there's been a number of scams attempted with not a flamethrower sales in Australia and on various forums across Facebook and other forums. Not a flamethrowers are attempting to be sold, which are not likely to be in Australia anyway, and also wall chargers. So there's quite a few people putting out wall chargers and are shown to be scam artists because they know they're popular. They know they'll get a quick $500, $600 in for them, and typically they're not. Typically they'll attempt to sell them from a remote place rather than being delivery or pickup only. So do watch out for those. I know that I'm surrounded by very clever people, but we're all liable to fall for a scam occasionally.
Yeah, great advice, Ant. Yeah, great advice.
And is there any sort of giveaway signs that might make you suspicious if you see one of these ads, or?
Yeah. Well, with the not a flamethrower, it's just that it's not a flamethrower because they're not able to be imported to Australia anyway, just because of their nature. With the wall chargers, typically it's like a picture of, the picture off the website or whatever. It's not actually their wall charger, and there's little signs like I've just bought a new flamethrower. I bought a new wall charger, or you can generally see that it's a genuine Tesla owner because their photographs will be in their garage plugging in their HPWC or we'll say I've just disconnected it and or I've moved house and I can't plug one in here. But the scam ones will typically have little detail apart from contact me via this email address to buy it. It won't be through a proper payment method or through some reliable. Yeah,
I've seen some that have like a
PayPal.
US adapter on the end, non-Australian one. Like, how stupid are people?
That's a dead giveaway as well. Yes, sorry, foreign ones, America's connector or whatever.
That's a good segue to say hello to Carmen. Hi, Carmen. Did you bring back some dodgy war charges from Spain, Carmen?
No, but there is a lot of EVs here.
Absolutely.
Are you still in Spain, Carmen?
Yes.
Oh, is that natural light that's coming in from the side there?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
We've got two European
and very hot.
vessels.
Very hot. They've got a heat wave Madrid is very hot. So, but I'm in a village at the moment for medieval weekend. So
it's dressing up.
It's cooler here. I will. Yes.
Carry a sword and stuff.
Carmen showed off her dress that she was wearing.
Yes.
Costume.
Yeah. I'll wear it next week. I can dress up for Zoom.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they're currently setting it up in the Plaza. They're getting all the bits and pieces together. Yeah, it's good. Harold has some pics.
Oh, yeah,
WhatsApp.
okay. I'll get them. Yeah. Thanks, Carmen, for that bit of homework. I'll
the pics, and he's also got the roof plans, hasn't he? He's got to get that house re-roofed while you're away, Carmen.
They're the pool plans, aren't they?
Yes.
Gardening. He's got to do a bit of gardening as well.
There's a bit to be done.
Yeah, well, Harold's got plenty of time. He can get in.
My daughter's got the Tesla, more to the point. So
Oh, wow.
hopefully, yeah. Her husband's an IT guru, so hopefully there's no issues.
Right.
So that means both of your children have got a Tesla, correct? Because your son's got the Model 3 and he's got the Model S on auto. Is that correct?
Yes. No,
Yeah.
Catherine's just borrowed mine.
Right.
She's got mine
Ah,
while I'm away. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
excellent.
That's
yeah,
the
it's better than
worry.
it's in the garage, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And make sure they're both insured at the RAC, just by the by.
Oh,
No.
don't Carmen. Ooh.
Oh, and you really walked into that one.
No.
Carmen's
No,
insured
no.
for that.
Because
No,
Carmen's gonna
Sure,
claim international immunity for any disparaging comments you may say about the RAC, which in her case are all true.
Yes, they did send me a renewal actually.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
RAC?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually got one too. It's still in the letter. It's still in the envelope, but I just didn't get around to opening it.
Well,
So
you're both insured with that new Russian policy, aren't you?
I am actually, and so is Carmen.
Yes.
Okay, so here are Carmen's photos. Hang on, that's not right. Sorry. It's the next one. Here we go. So,
Was that one of the waiters, Carmen?
Oh, that's gold.
Speaking of being liable for disparaging comments, what about disparaging images?
well, all I can say, Pete, is that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and there's 1,000 words.
That was that bloke at the Synergy lecture last night.
Yeah.
1,000 words.
There you go. So, yes, he's a man of 1,000 words. So Carmen, this is you can describe this if you like.
Oh, well, this is the Central Plaza, and this was last night when I arrived.
Oh, it's
And I
beautiful.
thought I'd take it because next week will be full of hundreds, or the weekend will be full of people, but I'll take some more shots. And it's a medieval village. In the center, there is a white statue, and that is Saint Michael at the top, and top of the hill, yep. And he's the patron saint of the town. So it glows in the dark. That when it gets really dark, you only see him hovering above. It's a bit spooky, but it's a walled city, so there is an archway to enter, and it used to have a moat. So this is the city center. I'm staying just above those umbrellas, and it's just people dining. Yep, just there. And people are just dining out in the evening. And it's quite cool at the moment. This is a little local river, but it hasn't got a lot of water in it. And you can see the geese and ducks playing in the water. It's been very dry. There's a lot. That's a very old church. There is a cathedral that is very nice, but I haven't, the sun wasn't right, so I couldn't photo it this morning. And they'll do medieval plays in there. That's the entry. You can see it's been advertised. They were just putting that up this morning for medieval celebration.
What's the bar there? Is it Bar
Oh,
Arco?
yeah. There's about 10 bars.
Oh yeah, the few bars.
Yeah.
How was the flight over, Carmen? Good plane flight?
Yes, yeah, it was Emirates. I
lucky to
bought Qantas, but they sort of forwarded it onto Emirates. It was full.
Yeah, right. And,
Yep.
and your luggage?
Is that an A380, Carmen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what sort of
from
stopover
And
did you
like-
have in Dubai? How long?
No, not long at all. It was 11 hours from Perth to Dubai, 2 hours to connect the next flight, and 8 hours to Madrid.
So, Carmen, was it A380 from Perth to Dubai, or was it just A350?
Yes,
Was it
I
a double?
think so.
It was an A350.
Yeah, yes, it was a smaller plane to Dubai and then the larger one.
They're not doing the A380s yet, Harold, into Australia yet. They're still doing the 350s.
Yeah, right. Gotcha. I've booked for the 9th of December, roughly, and that's a A380.
Oh, they might be back by then. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Carmen, there's another photo
There
of.
was no issue. Oh, that's a fountain that has a natural well in the center.
Is that where you have a bath, Carmen? Is that where you have a shower in the mornings? Is that how it is? Medieval times, isn't it?
They've got renovated hotels here.
Oh, okay.
All these questions,
And
Carmen didn't expect the
Starbucks.
Spanish Inquisition.
Aha, boom, boom.
Champagne and on, I tell you.
It's just a typical street. They're all a bit like that. So out of the plaza, you have little sideway, little gardens. Yep. It's quite a cute town.
And that's it. That was the photo. So it was about half
Yeah.
a minute or so there.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
I'll take some of medieval parties for next week.
Right.
We should have a segment that's Carmen slideshows. You know, we can get the slide projector out.
Where's that? Where is Carmen San Diego? So where's Carmen Tudor?
Where's Carmen? Carmen goes crazy.
I have been called Carmen Miranda.
What does that mean?
Yes. Actually, I heard that. Oh, Fortuna.
Very old actress.
Yeah, with the stuff on their head.
I actually heard that music from Carmina Burana, the O Fortuna.
Yes.
UWA this afternoon at the graduation ceremony. It was pretty good on the
great.
authentic organ in Winthrop Hall.
Oh, excellent.
It was quite
Who
good.
was graduating, Harold?
Yeah.
Oh, my eldest son. So
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah.
yeah, apparently UWA now has 141,000 alumni.
Yes.
So I don't know what number I was, but I was back in '92 when I graduated. So I dare say it was a lot less than probably 100,000. But yeah, it was great. They had O Fortuna and also Toccata. Oh, they started with Toccata and Fugue in D minor, which is my favourite. But anyway, I'm
nice. That's lovely.
far too cultured. Cool. All right. So we've had Carmen's slideshow.
No.
No, I'll do it next week in medieval dress.
Awesome. All right. So has anyone got any questions? About your awesome cars or anything Tesla related? I mean, we obviously had a few.
I'm taking a Model Y on test drive on Saturday.
So you'll be placing the order when you get back. So that's good. So there's another order to the kitty.
It's going to be too slow for me. But
it won't be. It won't be.
Oh, I don't know. The Model 3 performance is.
Well, go for the Model Y performance version.
Yeah, no, but that's 2 seconds slower. So that's the.
It's not too slower.
It's a little bit.
Performance is 3.7 seconds, 0 to 100. The Model Y, and your Model 3 is 3.3 seconds. It's only 0.4 of a second difference.
That's a lot. That's a hell of a lot of, like, when you're speeding and you're trying to get out, like.
No, but Jared, it's like like it's you know.
So Jared can do a lot in half a second.
Exactly. Thank you. I believe that exactly.
Yes, at terminal velocity, if you're the Falcon 9 rocket, you can probably cover a kilometer in that half a second. But
exactly, and then if you're in the Model S Plaid, it's even quicker. So
is Domo in the room? Is he back with us? No, he's not. He's left us.
He's there. Domo's.
Don't talk about the Model S Plaid in front of Damo because he'll wet himself.
I'm in the same boat.
Jared, just go and order a performance. Just job done. In between,
just do it, Jared.
I'll speak to Harold.
You won't get one, Jared.
Exactly. I'll be buying Model S Plaid before I buy a Model Y, I think.
No, but the thing is, you'll receive a Model S, a Y Performance before you'll get the Plaid.
You reckon?
Oh, I've shown those images before, where courtesy of Munro and Associates, Tesla, in their wisdom, had a left-handed only format firewall for the Model S Plaid or the Model S.
Ridiculous, Harold.
Whereas the Model Y has the dual left and right penetrations for steering column and brakes and all that sort of stuff. So
hey, Jared. Sorry, go on.
No, go, Pete.
No, I interrupt you. You go. You were
I was just going to say, so Tesla, in their wisdom, will now have to retool. Will have to make another tool to do a right-hand drive version of the Model S, and presumably the same thing will happen for the Model X, because if they're going to make the mistake on one premium car, they might as well make the same mistake on both of them. So there's no sign, and I've said this many times, I ordered one back on the 9th of January last year, and the website said for delivery in March last year, and I will be personally flabbergasted if it comes before. I reckon the WA EV highway will be fully finished before I get to darken it with my Model X. And that's code for saying it'll be more like March in 2024 for something that was ordered in January of 2021. So there you go. So Jared, just get your Model Y Performance, and Damo, just go and, I don't know, buy a Model Y Performance. It's a bigger car.
No chance.
Yeah, I love my Model 3, to be honest with you. I really do. I love the
Hey, Jared, if you love your Model 3, you'll love the Model Y. Oh. And what you can do is you might be able to sell your Model 3 Performance. Damo might want to buy it. And you might get a couple more grand than what you paid for it. Yeah. And you can get into Model Y for basically hardly any difference in cost.
Yeah. Didn't it just go up the other week, Pete?
It's only gone up. Well, it's gone up twice effectively. So one was the $3.5 grand increase, and sorry, was it less for the Performance? $3.5 grand for the rear-wheel drive, and I think it was about $2 grand or something for the Performance.
2,800 and 3,400 respectively. But
yeah, sorry, that's
something like that.
So what's it sitting at now, Harold? What's
same. It's unchanged. So on the website at tesla.com,
black with the color.
If you order now, you won't get the UMC, the wall connector with it. Sorry, not the wall connector, the mobile connector.
Yeah, I don't
but you'll be able to buy it at $550 instead of $780.
I bought Harold's wall connector. And Harold's
So basically, the Model Y for the standard range is $79,878. Drive away, no more to pay, and the Performance is $110,179. Drive away, no more to pay.
So actually, those wheels on the standard range without the aero covers on, it's actually quite a nice set of wheels, eh?
Yeah, it does look
right. They are. They've got sort of like a Y sort of double spoke sort of thing. It's actually quite nice, don't they?
Is the rim in a bit so you don't do the rim rash so much?
Yes. Well, on the standard range, it is certainly, because you can see how the sidewall bulges out a bit. On the Performance, not so much.
The same sort of wheel.
Probably the same.
And how much is it with colour, Harold?
Sorry, say again.
How much was the colour with that? How much is?
So if you want the red one, because that goes faster.
It's a midlife crisis red. I'm looking at.
It's going to cost you an extra $4,000, almost exactly.
4,000 more.
Because you've got to pay luxury car tax on the 2,900.
So it's 2,000. Yeah, that's right, Russell. Yeah, so 2,900 nameplate, but you got LCT and enhanced stamp duty and stuff. So it's an extra $4,000.
Right.
Now, Jared, has your car got full self-driving?
No.
So if you sell your red Model 3 and buy a white Model Y, you might be able to change over for 3, 4, 5 grand.
Yeah, that's nothing.
So a white one is 110,000.
Yeah, I couldn't drive a white. I couldn't drive the white car.
Well, what you can do is do what Damon did, which was he had a white car and then he got a lovely burnt orange wrap on it, and that looks awesome for his Model X.
I actually like that wrap of that guy that I don't know who he is, but he's got a blue and it's got lines through it. And it's really out there. It's that one.
No, it's Jörg Mottel, and it's RAAF camouflage color.
That's it. I reckon that looks great. I actually think that's really cool.
I actually lodged a ticket a few weeks ago when they announced the wide to see if the 21 Uber turbines would fit onto off the Model Y would fit onto my Model 3, and they haven't been able to answer it. They reckon they're not sure. I love the Uber turbines. They've really grown on me, eh?
Yes.
Haven't you got that website, Harold, with the car wheels that fit and stuff? Wasn't that one we looked at a couple of weeks ago, which shows the offsets and the widths and the tire?
Yeah, well, in fact, Damo, the Model Y wheels aren't like for like compatible with Model 3.
Because they're different.
No worries, Russell. Thanks for giving me some work.
Thanks for Harold, I've got a question for Andrew Harvey. Andrew Harvey, just while Harold's doing this, I've got a quick question for you. Have you practiced using baby wipes? Because you're going to be out on the road there for a couple of weeks without a shower. And have you got any strategic plans in place to to control that that smell that comes off your body,
You've got a beard there to store the food as well.
Yeah, this is for the food.
You're going to be doing about 15 days or something of.
It's only 10 days.
10 days.
And I think. And I think looking.
Hotels, are you staying in?
Well, yeah, of course.
When you say 5 stars, like under 5 stars,
a couple of million in the sky.
Yeah, and it's 2 ashtrays that you're staying in. Some of the places.
There's only I think of the 10 days. I think there's only 4 or 5 of that potentially would be camping somewhere. Otherwise, it's roadhouses or motels along the way, because we're kind of ahead of the rally each night, so we're not stuck where all the crew and all the other rally car is. So we can actually get accommodation ahead of them. Yep. So, but there is some just by virtue of the fact we have to go ahead of the rally to be ready for the next day. So you be in a different location,
and then they leapfrog over. Is that right?
Yeah. There's 3 vehicles at the moment with different charging capabilities that will have. I think it's on average there's only 1 charge a day for any one asset. But that's some days we're doing 700 kilometers in a day. So yeah, when you factor in the car can only do 200 at the most in any one hop, and then you got to do a charge for an hour or so, and then drive again, stop again. So if you're doing 4 charges a day, that's 4 hours of sitting there charging, and then you still got to do 700 kilometers.
And then he's charging up while you're asleep, I guess, during the night.
Yeah. Most of the overnight stops have a AC or one of us are with them, so we can charge off the veg pod.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to side of the Nullarbor camping with a camp shower. That's going to be great.
Camp shower, the swag, and just
and the King Brown snakes are good. They're really friendly.
Yeah.
They just
That's exactly what I was about to say. Make sure that you've got a good swag that's got a cover over your head. There's a lot of shit that's on the Nullarbor, mate, that likes to crawl in with a nice little warm body next to you, like a King Brown. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, right.
Snuggle in there.
It's going to be an experience.
Oh yeah, it's great.
So Damo, I've got the answer for your rim things. It's this. On the left is the Uber turbines. Bearing in mind they're 17.2 kilos front and 17.6 in the rear. The Model 3 20-inch Uber turbines, So you got your size, so it's 20 by 9s, offset is 34.
Yep.
For the Y, it's 40, and then 48 for the rear. So I don't know if that's going to be an issue, because these are actually two different sizes, but you could always go 2 lots of 9-inch.
Yeah, Model Y is 21 inch and the Model 3 is 20.
Yeah, but the front on the Model Y is 9.5 inches and the rear is 10.5. It's an inch wider at the back. But the Model 3 Uber turbines are all 20 by 9s. So you could choose to just go even with 21 by 9.5s. So then the offset, you've got 6 millimeters of difference in the offset. So the offset's plus 40 instead of 34 for the 3. So that means I think the wheels would then go out a little bit out of the inner wheel arches.
Sometimes you can get away with machining the inside of them, the hubs, but you don't want to take too much out.
Yes. And then Lance
but isn't that the opposite way though? I don't think
so that's cool.
That's the opposite way though, Damien, isn't it? You're trying to add stuff to it, not take it away.
Oh yeah. Then you'd have to use like spaces or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think it's going to protrude past the face of the car.
The wheel arches, that's right, Russell. I think that's that's what I think it means. Is it's going outwards. It's going towards the outer part of the car. So that might be protruding into the wheel arch of your Model 3, perhaps.
I do like those Pirelli tyres.
Yeah, they've grown on me as well, Jared. I was skeptical on them at the start, but yeah, they grip like all hell. They're brilliant.
Yeah, I was driving in the rain the other day and it was like, wow, this thing was hugging the road. I couldn't believe.
Yeah, real good.
Yeah, very impressive.
So there you go. So that's the wheels.
Harold, what site's this?
Green Drive-accessories.com. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, cheers. If you could send us the link, please, Harold.
Yeah, it's in the chat, mate. There, right. Can you see that, Damo? Or are you on a phone or something? You should still be able to click on that in the chat if you open up the chat on your phone.
Yeah, I can get in the chat. I can see it. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks, Harold.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's the
Model Y wheels.
Yeah, so that's the Model Y wheels that you were talking about. What's underneath the aero covers?
All
right. They're bloody nice.
They're not bad. Yeah, they're not terrible.
They look a lot.
The covers for them too.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, they look a lot better when you put the Tesla logo in the center, the 4-5 buttons. Yep.
So what size is that wheel compared to the?
That's a 19-inch.
You can't get 19-inch aero covers, can you? Is that what like?
Is that what you're getting, Pete? Those wheels?
Yeah, they're on all the rear-wheel drives, unless you've opted for the middle wheel, whatever that was.
Induction 20-inch induction wheel.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yep.
Cool.
Sorry, did you say, Russell, wheel covers for?
You know the wheel covers you get on Model 3s, how they've got that distinct aero look?
Yep.
They're not going to be available on Model Ys, are they? Because they won't be the right size.
No. No. It'll be, all you'll get is this one, this so-called aero cover, the Gemini wheels.
Right, there's an aftermarket one you can find online.
Yeah, I actually ordered. Yes, Chris, I did, and I ordered. It looks a bit more like the Uber turbines. I'm going to try and find the image for that.
While Harold's doing that, hey Alex, what's going on in Mandurah? You've been smashing charges, or what's going down, mate?
No, nothing's really going on. Other than my sister having a baby. So.
Well
awesome.
Done. Great.
So,
That's exciting.
Uncle Alex.
Uncle Alex is what I've been called.
Uncle Alex.
To a beautiful baby boy. So.
Oh.
Uncle Alex.
And it didn't hurt you a bit. Didn't hurt you a bit, Alex.
Yeah.
No.
Did you help in the delivery or anything, or?
Nope.
Drive to a hospital or get flowers?
No, I didn't have to do anything like that. I just showed up at the hospital when it was born. So yeah.
Good. Well done.
Awesome.
Happy, healthy.
So no shows, not in any pantomimes coming up? Nothing happening?
No shows coming up. I have been asked to do one, but I've declined, obviously.
Why'd you decline?
Because they're doing Legally Blonde.
Oh, okay.
I've got my sister's baby, and then she's having a wedding later in the track. So
they're milking that
this
one.
year, pretty busy year for me.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And I mean, clearly,
yes,
Alex, you're not blonde; you're a brunette. So how could you possibly?
I could get a. You could do a Rory lob and get a bleach going. You could get.
I could get a bleach, couldn't I?
Yeah, get the bleach. You know, you look like Rory lob. So.
Yeah, get it at Coles. It's in that green container. It's quite good, very effective.
Coles.
Yeah, Coles? Yeah, the proper bleach. You know, chlorine bleach, the good stuff.
Oh,
yeah. The good stuff.
Yeah. Trump said to drink when you had COVID. That one. Yeah, gotcha.
That's the one.
That one.
And how long are you in witness protection for?
Driving.
Oh, he's not there. Sorry, go. What were you saying?
Is on mute?
No, you're on mute. You go.
I was going to say I've just been driving the Tesla around. Oh, is he there?
There we go. What's that? Is that you drive? No, that's
no, that's the that comes with them. So yeah,
pretty nice how they are.
Yeah,
they're not bad.
Yeah, I'm going with an open mind on Saturday about the Model Y.
So hey Alex, what's the hype like in Mandurah for Model Ys? Are they still Model 3 fans, or would they go the Model Y down there, you reckon?
I don't know. I was on the fence to get a Model Y, and I've sort of gone the other way. I've gone, well, I may as well stick with the 3. Actually, when I rocked up in Tesla, believe it or not, they actually talked me out of buying a Model Y. They're saying, oh, why buy the Y when it's slower? You get a bit more range.
Alex, what they meant was why, buy it.
Yeah.
It was a statement. It wasn't a question.
Question: Have they got a Y performance there to test drive, or just the standard range?
No performance whatsoever.
There's 5 cars that they have. They've got 2 blues, 1 grey, which is in the showroom, 1 red, and 1 white. So there's a blue, red, and white. So 3 test vehicles. And there's 1 blue one which hasn't been registered yet, but they're going to use it as a service car, mobile service car. So
there's no Y performance to test drive, Pete. Only the rear wheel drive.
Correct.
Hey,
there's no performance in WA.
Damo, when mine comes,
copy that.
When mine comes, Damo, I can give you a drive the first day I get it if you like.
Performance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come and check it out for sure, Russell.
Are you selling your other one, Russell? Are you going to sell your Model 3?
Nah, probably not. I'm just going to keep it.
You both?
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say too, with the Model Y, sorry, Russell. You go, Russell. Sorry.
I was just going to tell Damo. I think I don't know if this is how it's going to work out, but I've bought Poverty Pearl White, black interior, and I was the second person in WA or the third person in WA to order one. So
yeah,
I should
nice.
have mine second. Yeah, I should have mine reasonably high up on the order, you'd want to think. And I'm not sure if they're going to deliver any chest vehicles on that same boat. They'd probably come if they were. I don't think they'd put any performances on any boats before that. That means they need to be on this boat coming now, which is probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think so,
Russell.
Let us know when they give you a date, Russell.
Yep. Yeah, everyone will know. Don't worry about that.
Cheers, man.
We'll all be around Russell's house test driving.
Speaking of wheels, just very quick.
The next day and find it on blocks, and his 21-inch wheels are on my Model 3.
These are aero covers. Well, they're like Uber turbine sort of thing. That's the front and that's the back side. Frustratingly, there's an Alibaba link and it's now gone cold. It's broken. And I have ordered them, so I don't know if that means I'm going to get them or not. But that's another alternative to the 19-inch Gemini wheel covers.
I sent you an AliExpress link for Model Y covers, just in the chat. They don't look too bad if you ask me.
Now.
Good work, Anne.
Ooh, yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah. Yeah, no. Hang on a sec.
Beauty is a very subjective
It's all a
term, isn't
matter
it,
of
Harold?
subjective
Yes.
taste.
There we go. Oh well, let's have a little pulse pop quiz. Is that what do we think about that? Is that a winner?
No.
Yes.
I don't like the
I like
thickness.
black
So
wheels.
the internet's breaking up, Carmen. You not got
They look
good vision
they look better than the standard ones, that's for sure.
there.
Yeah,
Nah, it looks like an extractor fan.
I like Harold's one before better than those ones.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like I said, I did order it from that link, but now that link says it's not there anymore. So I don't know what that means. Maybe they've just changed the listing or something.
Probably because you bought them for 20 vehicles you get, mate. That's probably why they've sold out.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yep, they've made their $1 million in scams, and they're onto something else now.
Where
They're
was
onto
the section?
HPWCs.
Yeah, section Y in India.
Hey, Russell, with your order, what was are you able to have a look and see what time you received your confirmation, your email confirmation of your order?
I can do that.
Look at these other Model Y people just like, hey, Russell, can you ring us the second yours arrives? Can you just send it out nationally? Like, it's like
8:15 a.m.
competition now.
Nice.
So
And don't tell anyone, Russell, and just turn up with it.
maybe somebody might go and drop off Harry's new barbecue that he wanted and that new fridge, and their Model Y might come a little bit quicker.
No, Harry's on a very well-deserved annual leave. So
Yeah, somebody's paid for his holiday. Thank you.
Is that why you went out?
that's right. Look, he's at my resort, on some island somewhere that I forget because there's so many.
That's right.
What's the significance, Pete? What's the significance of the date?
Hey, Russell,
I don't know. I was because the confirmations. So the orders opened at 8 a.m. 14 minutes and 11 seconds.
Yeah.
So the email confirmations went out chronologically. So 8:50. So mine was until 8:17. So 8:15. That means you ordered it within 45 seconds of the order page opening. Yeah. That's unbelievable. What date? What time was yours, Errol?
What date was it, Pete?
It was the
10th. 10th of the 6th.
10th.
That's from Tesla Motors, Harold. The
Tesla Motors. Oh, gotcha.
So Harry's on annual leave. Here's me thinking, what a rude bastard. He won't answer his phone. And yeah, sorry, Harry, I'll take that back.
He's on annual leave.
It's the email address is buildmymodely@tesla.com.
And it was the 10th.
So Harold, I want to.
Hang on.
Russell,
yeah,
when you get home from work and there's a few suspicious cars parked in your street, it's only Pete in a van. Don't be threatened to be fine.
Strange, I've got the Tesla Model Y now available, and that was sent.
That's so funny.
No, it should. The subject should be
thank you for your. Thank you for your order. Is the subject?
Yeah. Okay. 10th to the 6th. Because just for interest's sake, the actual email saying that the orders were open was at 9:30. So that's a little bit after.
Yeah, that's when I got mine. 9:30.
Has anyone actually received dates yet? Does anyone know?
Yeah,
most
people have.
Yeah.
But not for performance, though.
Right,
No one's for performance.
Yeah, only for the real drives. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Thank you for your order. Mine says 8:16.
Oh, so how did Russell's come in before yours? Because yours was the first order.
That might be what my Outlook says, so it might not be the actual.
Yeah, it could be a little bit out.
Gotcha.
It could be a bit out. You'd have to drill into the header.
And Russell's got a bit more hair as well, so that would have caused a bit of drag. So that could have been a part of it.
They're both pretty aerodynamic.
I think Harold was number one.
Russell's got some props that he could have used to help get ahead from everyone else. Isn't that right, Russell?
I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
You got some props that you could have used to get the order in quicker.
Yeah, that was just whacking away at the keyboard when I was doing it. Like it was really quick. It was just whizzing around and smashing the keys. It was.
Did you say you were whacking away while you were doing it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you heard Harold on the call on the replay, the Insta replay.
Oh yeah. Oh. Oh!
Oh!
I love the replay.
It is, you're right. Yeah.
I'm in.
It's gold.
Anyway, and we have got the video in.
Gold.
It's on YouTube. So, and the beautiful thing, and I keep saying it, is as Pete and I were trying to war game, how are we going to do this, and whether we could do it, and all that sort of stuff. It went exactly as I thought it might. It couldn't have gone better. Just that natural reaction, because we were just sitting there a little bit bored because, there was this sort of rumor that it was going to be an hour earlier at 7 o'clock. And then, of course, we sort of knew it was going to really be 8 o'clock, but then it wasn't quite 8 o'clock and we were a little bit bored and it just happened.
I was on my phone and I had a text message come in from my brother-in-law and I thought, oh, should I check it? Should I not? And I thought, I bet you as soon as I go into it, it opens. And sure enough, like a fraction of a second, I heard you go, oh. And then I'm going, I'm trying to get back in. And
is this going to be like another moment, like where were you when Princess Diana died, and where were you when the Twin Towers were hit? Like, is this?
Yeah,
no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah,
and it's historic because it's the day that the EV landscape changed in Australia. It's the
100%, yeah.
Everything else was the thin edge of the wedge. This is the wedge getting knocked right into the block. Like that's.
There's a lot of widows. There's a lot of Tesla widows out there now crying about this date. Absolutely crying. Just special moments.
I was at work.
Valentine's Day for the Tesla widows.
I was at work and I had a client, and then it went ping, 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 and I said, I'm not sure actually. Let me just go check that for you. Went out the back, boom, 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 smashed the order out, and then went back out and served the customer.
It happens to me every day.
Well, the thing is, if you've seen the video, we just went, and I knew this would happen. At first, there'd be the jubilation. Then there's this panic thing of that's we just had our eyes locked on our screens, bashing in the order, getting our credit card number in, blah, 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 checking, because you had to check, make sure it was performance, white on white, blah, blah, blah. And you're kind of a little bit paranoid that you didn't quite get it right, so you got to make sure. And then you relax. It's like the aftermath, and then we're all chilled and.
No, because we had to order multiple.
Yeah, we did.
So it's a bit more than just one. So.
And I'd forgotten how to do it the second time because, as we know, poor old Paul, he was doing the method that everyone else in Australia was doing, which was just clicking on the main page, whereas like Russell and I and Pete and Ken had gone directly to the link, which didn't yet exist, because when you clicked on it, it just said error 404, join Starman back at the whatever website. So when Paul had clicked and the rest of Australia had refreshed, it wasn't active yet, or that link hadn't been updated yet. I will try and find it so we can just relive this moment just for a second. But speak amongst yourselves.
Do you know how many were ordered in WA? Do we know how many were ordered in WA, or we're just guessing?
Oh, it would have been over 1,000 in just the first couple of days. It was
Robin Denholm has basically last week or
7 days ago,
a week and a half ago. Sorry, Pete.
7 days ago, pretty much on the dot.
Yep. So she had basically said there are 26,500 Teslas.
Yep.
All of Australia. Then a week ago, and then she said she would not be surprised if that doubled by the end of this year.
Yep.
I mean, and that's a huge, and she's not a flippant person. There's nothing that comes out of her lips that she hasn't already pre-thought about, and I think she's just given a huge hint that it's going to be pretty close to that, if not exceed it. And I mean,
you have to have some serious, because the problem that I can see is just the logistics of getting that many cars across. the size of the boats they're bringing previously won't have the capacity to bring that many cars to Australia. So they've either got multiple boats or bigger boats to traffic more cars.
Yeah.
Boat.
And or they might get we might get a boat solely for WA go from China or from Shanghai directly to Perth.
Oh yeah, because currently we're only getting. Oh, sorry, go Chris.
No, it could go like Singapore and then Perth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because currently we get the second stopping of the boat, right?
Yeah, no. It's a transshipment, Russell. So the boat goes to the eastern seaboard. I think it's publicly known that the boat goes. Actually, I can
goes
another way because what's that website?
It is publicly known. It goes Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, Port Kembla, and in Port Kembla they disembark. It's the Morning Clara, and then
Armour Cup is what you want. Armour Cup, Harold.
No. It's Thermopylae.
No, Armour Cup is the website.
Armour Cup. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Chris. Sorry, Armour Cup. Yeah, thanks. Sorry.
And yeah, it's the Thermopylae, or however you pronounce it. That's going to bring hopefully 1,000 odd cars to Freo.
So let's just say if the Tesla's on the Morning Clara, and that's not trying to give away any private information that's been gleaned by Vita Prime, but let's say
this is all on Facebook.
Right. Okay. So let's just say that's on the Morning Clara. This is out of date because clearly it hasn't arrived yet. I think it's arriving soon, but whenever it arrives, it's Brisbane, and as like Pete said, Brisbane, Port Kembla, Melbourne. But then it gets transshipped to the Thermopylae. So the Thermopylae departs Melbourne and goes to Fremantle, and then actually I've looked at the Fremantle website, and it then goes on to Singapore. But there's a transshipment for the Perth cars.
And Harold, I think you mentioned that it arrives on the 13th, but then leaves on the 15th. So
yes, that's in the Fremantle. That's on the Fremantle Port's movement schedule. It's scheduled to arrive on the 13th and depart on the 15th.
So the cars have to disembark during those 2 days.
Yes, and I can disclose that my order has a estimated delivery date of the 16th, which it's a range between the 16th of August and the 30th of August.
As does mine too, yeah.
Yep. And there are others that are in a similar range. So,
previous to this, the largest volume that have come to Perth is like 400 or something, right, at once?
I think so.
It was 368 something odd. Yeah,
385.
Right.
Well, I think I counted 385 on one of them.
So no more than 400 in one go, right? Yep. So to facilitate a larger amount, they've either got to not disembark as many previous to that, so not give as many to Brisbane and Sydney and Melbourne, or have a direct boat to us, right? They're the two options.
Hey, Chris, has there been anything on Facebook about the proportion of Perth deliveries to, say, eastern states or VIN allocations?
I mean, it's difficult to say because you only know what people are claiming themselves, right?
Yep.
But I think there's been proportionally more people from WA, it would appear.
Yep.
But we only know who's saying they've got it, right? So there could just be more people from WA who are in Tesla Facebook groups.
No, yes, or if they're leaking, if they're inappropriately leaking information that was gleaned by subscribing to Vita Prime, then they might be repeating that sort of information, which they're not supposed to, under the terms of that agreement. But that's what I was asking you on Facebook, if anyone was sort of saying that Perth was getting a larger allocation.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Cool. No worries.
To fulfill those sort of numbers, they're going to need more boats. So it's not without, I guess, without reason that they could potentially ship one direct to WA and would satisfy a whole boat, because there's already, there's a backlog up until, was it March or something, of 3s and Ys, and they're currently doing 3s and Ys in Shanghai. So it could be a mixed boat, not just one variant, and you could get 6 months worth of cars in one shipment potentially.
Russell, I think
another way to tackle it, Russell, is the other way you could tackle it is, if for argument's sake you put more Perth. Let's just say for Perth you can really only do one shipment a quarter because it just takes the time to get to the eastern seaboard, transshipped, processed, and whatever. So let's just say if Tesla worked out that you can only really do one Perth delivery a quarter, then it would make logical sense for them to have a higher allocation of the initial batch coming to Australia being for Perth, because you might have, I don't know, half or something of whatever the cars are, or, well, look, say we're 10% of the market, you would then want to have 20%. If you're going to have 2 shipments, you'd have 20% of the allocation going to Perth, or a greater proportion, because Perth only gets one hit. Whereas the eastern seaboard could logically perhaps get another shipment or another 2 shipments to the seaboard and have them delivered before September, end of September.
Yeah.
So that could be a strategy that Tesla could do that doesn't require a direct shipment to Perth. You just have a big shipment at the start of the quarter and then have other shipments throughout the quarter to the eastern seaboard for the time being. So that logical argument can sort of hold, and that's without divulging anything that might be.
And I guess that's just provided that they actually want to prioritise the Australian market based on Robin's comments around doubling the total capacity right now. They need to work outside the single ship per quarter at the moment, which they're doing.
Yes. Yep. And the point is, she's not a naive person. She knows what's going on. And I think she gave a massive hint as to what's going on. And this is a first for Tesla, because Tesla is infamously so ridiculously secretive about even how many cars were in Australia. They just wouldn't ever admit how many cars there were.
By the way, that 26,500 number, that's the number of cars Tesla has delivered in Australia over the last 3 years. So there's probably closer to 27,000 or maybe slightly over.
Are you sure, Pete? I thought she just said...
She said 10 years, wasn't it?
There are 26,500 Teslas in Australia. Full stop.
Total.
The 2 articles that I've read, both of them said the last 3 years, but maybe they misheard.
We need to get her quote. We need to get her... Frustratingly, you can get the YouTube videos of last year's conference and previous years. They haven't yet got... I want to see it coming out of her lips. I want to see what she said, because you're right. A few of these articles, they've either paraphrased her, or you actually see they've got ... like they've cut bits out of her sentence, and you want to get the whole context.
Absolutely, yeah.
But at worst, it's 26,500 ever. At worst.
This might sound stupid, right? But how come state governments can't just pull data from? Why can't that be made public, or why can't that happen?
New South Wales does it. I think Victoria does it. They do it to by type, by EVs and by manufacturer and whatever. And I have seen a list circulated on social media about Perth numbers, and it was by someone who claimed they work at the Department of Transport or know someone and got these numbers. But why don't they just have it as a public list for everyone to see?
Is there some sort of privacy thing, or like what? Can we like request it from Freedom of Information or lobby for it or something?
I guess I don't see why not. The argument might be we don't have the handles on the database to pull that. They'll try and say, oh, we'd have to manually look through every entry, and that takes too long or something.
The system's that bad. I mean,
I know.
Yeah. Although they do generate more revenue from car registrations than they do from royalties from oil and gas. So it wouldn't surprise me if their systems are shit.
Really? Sorry, more
Oh, sorry, this is me back on the bandwagon of oil and gas.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so the revenue generated by Western Australia from car registrations exceeds the royalties received by the government from mining. Yeah.
Is that registration, is that including the insurance portion of the rego? Like that's the whole rego, isn't it? I presume.
Yeah, the whole rego, yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, Russell, can you just repeat that? I wasn't paying attention, but that sounded very interesting.
So you know how oil and gas get subsidised by $20,000 a minute? Yeah. So to other people who are listening in, so royalties are the money that a company pays to a state government because they essentially own the property. Like they own the ground, they own the underground, everything, right? So when a company goes in and extracts something from the ground, they're essentially taking it from the owners of the land, which is not the traditional owners, obviously, in this situation, but the government, which we essentially fund, right? So we own that land for monetary reasons. Now, as part of that deal, the government negotiates with those companies to say, okay, well, if you take X amount or whatever, we're going to charge you, like, say, $5 per tonne or whatever it's going to be. Every bit extracted, that's how much you pay us in royalties, right? Now, the royalties on oil and gas in WA are so low that the amount of revenue generated from car registrations exceeds the amount of revenue taken in by royalties.
Right. So that's all car registrations.
Yeah.
Including ICE, everything. Yeah.
Everything. Yep. Yeah. Also, if you paid tax last year, which I'm sure most of us did, at least $1. Probably Harold's got some pretty cool accountants, but for the rest of us, like we paid some tax. You actually paid more tax than Chevron, Exxon, Woodside, Santos combined in tax last year.
Yeah. So the oil and gas sector pays no tax, pays hardly any royalties, employs hardly any people, pollutes crap out of the atmosphere, contributes to a lot of people dying prematurely, while the renewable energy sector employs a lot of people, and oil and gas is a dying industry, whereas
renewable it's heavily subsidised.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what a
just level playing field. Or we want level playing field, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So last night at that talk, one of the first things that the lady, I can't remember her name, sorry, the main lady who was talking at the start. She was talking, was that her? Yeah, okay. So she said that one of the goals of Western Power, of Synergy, was to provide affordable energy to West Australians, right? That were the words, affordable energy. Now, the term affordable is, I guess, a subjective term. But what does affordable mean? Is it how much I physically pay myself for electricity, or the total cost of electricity to the person? Because the amount of tax I pay is probably more than the amount of energy I actually pay for to subsidise everybody else and subsidise the rest of the industry. Without the open market like they have over east, the taxpayers are essentially paying more for electricity than what they are, I guess, in their bill through taxes.
The actual tariffs, the Synergy tariffs, the gazetted tariffs for business, and the A1 tariff for residential, etc., that they aren't the true representative cost of producing and transmitting the power. That's substantially higher. That's a subsidised cost, and comes out of the general tax pool. It's borne by WA taxpayers.
Yeah. So when you say you're getting 30 cents, and you want to save power, if you actually use less power, you're still actually paying tax the same amount as if you weren't using power or you were using power, because a lot of your taxes go towards subsidising electricity. And it's to do with that baseload, trying to maintain and keep this old infrastructure up and running, and keep the perception that it's affordable, because you pay your taxes every year, you don't think about where it goes, but when you pay your electricity bill, straight away you know it's electricity. So I guess it's disproportionately affecting people who are choosing to take more, I guess, environmentally friendly steps by providing their own electricity. But at the same time, you can't look over the fact that people in lower socioeconomic areas can't really afford to have that sort of thing. So there's, I guess, a balancing act that needs to be played. So I think there's still a part to play for that subsidies at some point. But yeah,
there's also the cities subsidising the bush because the networks, you know, in regional areas are much more expensive because you know, in the city you can have one connection with 300 apartments, whereas, you know, and on that street you could have 10 apartment buildings, whereas, you know, over that same space you might have, you know, one farm if you're lucky.
Yeah, it's like when Telstra pretty much put all the stuff out in the bush and they were dependent on the people in the cities for essentially paying for their connection for phone and stuff, right? What was discussed last night about this is the end of it, we're not doing any more EV stuff. I mean, it's stupid that all the stuff they've got in the city, that's going to get filled out by private industry anyway at some point. They need to subsidise the stuff in the bush, like double that shit up and let the city sort itself out, because
here's some information.
There's no way that it's going to be economically feasible for anybody to put shit out there where there's, you know, 20 cars going through a day. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely.
That's where the effort needed to be targeted, I would have thought, but I just don't think it's it's definitely beneficial, but I think that it's not enough for the change that's going to happen. And there's going to be a situation where the limitation would then be another deterrent for people to take the step.
One thing that is, I think, you know, almost certain to happen is we'll be at some sort of a seminar or a lecture given by Western Power Synergy, the state government, Energy Policy WA, whoever it is, and a statement will be made that the adoption of EVs has been much faster than we anticipated, than anyone anticipated. That is, you know, I mean, we heard it last night about the take-up of solar being much faster than anyone anticipated. So, yeah.
I guess the take-up of Tesla bots and robotaxis is probably going to be higher than what's expected as well at the moment, I would think, on that same logical. Because, I mean, everyone remembers 1994, right? Not that long ago, 1994. Remember that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, the year
I was
1994.
there, yeah.
Remember that, Harold? Yeah. Do you know that 1994 is the same distance away as what 2050 is? Like, it's not that far away when you think about it. And by 2050, the cars aren't going to have steering wheels and stuff. There's like it's the amount the network has changed between 1994 and now. It's like so. The relative difference is between then and now is going to be so much different to the relative difference to now in 2050 that standing still at the moment is just crazy.
But no one can fathom that because the human brain is very good at extrapolating current trends along a linear. Whereas we're really bad at anticipating changes or a change to the gradient. We basically can't do it. But we're very good at extrapolating, you know, linear functions into the future.
So do you mean this one, Pete, where in 1900, Stickled is the one horseless carriage amongst a sea of horses, and then in
13 years later,
in 1913, so let's call it 14 years later or whatever.
Yep.
Circled is the one horse amongst a sea of cars in the same stretch of road. And who would have predicted that?
Absolutely.
Just another observation, Harold, in that photo, those cars in there in that photo, I would say in all that photo, there's probably like 3 different varieties of car, maybe.
Oh, most of them are Model Ts.
Right? Maybe there's 3, maybe there's 4 different varieties of car there in the whole thing.
Yep.
What's this bullshit about Tesla can't be successful because they don't produce enough vehicles? Like, GM are going to be fucking awesome because they do 20 of this and 30 of that. And like, there's not 50 different vehicles in that. Like, what? It just doesn't make any sense. Like,
it's such a stupid argument. It's a bit like saying Apple can't be successful because they only make the one type of phone.
Yeah.
And look at Android and look at Nokia. You know, they make 20 models of phones. Apple only makes one model of a phone, the iPhone. So there's no way
and who makes the most money out of smartphones?
Apple.
With the minority of production, like they're not the biggest producer.
Well, they're not. I wouldn't call it minority, but yeah, they're not the biggest producer. Yeah,
they're not the biggest producer, but they make most of the profit.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't there a number I saw today on a podcast that said that this quarter the revenue, or the profit of Tesla was the same as the profit of GM?
Yep, and GM,
yeah, it was on Rob Mauer's podcast.
Yeah, and it was 10 times the vehicle volume or something.
Correct. So GM has 10 times the volume that. So they're around 10 million cars a year. Tesla's around 1 million cars a year, and they're talking about revenue so Tesla's coming up to about 90 million a year in revenue, and I think GM was, did he say 67 billion, something like that?
Yeah.
So yeah, so more revenue for 1/10 of the volume.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't, because there was I don't know if everyone saw it as well, but there was a hot take of one of this, I think it was CNBC or something, where there was, it was Yahoo Finance, where he used the analogy of like dogs. Did you see that? No. Okay, so there's a video of I'm pretty sure it's Yahoo Finance. I could be wrong, but anyway, he was trying to relate like dogs to the car market, right? And he goes, well, I've got a poodle or whatever it is he had, right? He goes, I've got a screen across the whole of America showing the favorite dog in all the states. And look, that's not all the same dog. They're all different dogs. So if everyone wants different dogs, how are they all going to want the same car, right? But then when you look at another graph that shows...
I saw that. Yes.
You look at another graph showing the most popular cars in every state of America, like 2/3 of them with F-150. Like, that's like... It's just ridiculous. Like, you can skew these sort of arguments to suit this low base, low comprehension, like gullible person to go, fucking I hate Elon Musk so much, like I want more variety. But realistically, like even their arguments themselves are contradicting. It just is so stupid.
So he's basically saying the analogy of the dogs is a better analogy than the analogy of other cars.
Other cars, yeah.
So you're better off comparing dogs versus cars rather than cars versus cars.
Yeah, that's essentially what he was saying. Yeah, it was just ridiculous. And then his points after it just, I didn't know where to start. It's like punching down when you argue with these people. I feel bad doing it because their arguments are so flawed. You're like, you got to give them a break. You think they're mentally challenged or something. You don't want to take advantage of them, but they're on a show. They're finance people who should have financial understanding.
It's just propaganda. It's just selling, advertising. That's all it is. It's not. Yeah. There's very little financial. I mean, there's a very good index. I think it was a TradingView or somewhere where they showed the times that CNBC had negative stories about Tesla versus the share price. And they basically show that if you use that as an indicator, so whenever they had a negative story against Tesla, if you bought shares and if you just traded them for a week or two afterwards, so obviously we know if you held the shares, you would have done really well. But if you just traded them for a week or two afterwards, you would have, and if you just used that as a sole indicator, you would have absolutely cleaned up. So.
Speaking of fake news, I'm trying to find the ridiculous Cybertruck article on drive.com.au.
I've got this picture, the one of the cars and the dogs. Do you want me to flick it up?
Yeah, go on.
All right, hang on. Let me share this screen here. So, I think, where is it?
Oh, Steve Mike Ryan.
Yeah, where is it? Hang on, let me go back a bit. Not there. All right, so there's the dogs, right?
Oh, yes.
So he's saying, here's all the different dogs, 20 different varieties of dogs across America. We all love different dogs, blah, blah. And that was his argument around like why they need different varieties of cars and why Tesla's not going to be successful because they only got 2 cars, right? And then you go forward a bit, and then what he's got is here is another one showing the best-selling cars by state. And you can see here, these first 3 cars are like, 75% of the whole of the country is 3 cars.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, what do you say? Like,
but you got to think to yourself, like, why would he come up with that dog analogy? So why wouldn't he go to, you know, existing car sales? Surely that's the most logical place to go to first. So
no,
obviously
because the most relatable thing to the audience that they're trying to, I guess, I don't know, make them believe what they want them to believe, would associate dogs in a better way, like a better understanding than talking about cars. Because I guess what he's trying to get, they're trying to do a hit piece on Tesla, and this is the way they prove their point. So it's irrelevant what they show, because it's not about fact, it's about trying to sell a narrative of the reason why GM and the reason why Ford and the reason why Volkswagen are going to be so much better is because they produce 10 times as many vehicles. That's what he's trying to get the point across.
Yeah, I think they probably looked at cars first and said, okay, that doesn't fit that argument. Let's go to trucks. Oh, trucks doesn't. Oh, motorbikes, that doesn't fit it. Let's go to horses. Horses doesn't fit it because they, you know, most states have got, you know, the same horse as their most popular horse. Oh, look, dogs. Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah, he goes on to say, like, he goes on for ages. He's like, Apple, all right, they got like, how many computers they got? Oh, okay, cool. Oh, how many monitors they've got? Oh, okay, cool. They've only got 2. All right. How many? You guys watch this video. I think it's quite actually informative. Stephen Mark Ryan.
Yes.
This was here published yesterday, day before. Sorry. It's like a common sense approach to the argument that keeps getting put out around why Tesla won't be successful because they only produce 2 vehicles, even though they're the best vehicles in the world. It doesn't really make any difference, apparently.
He can be quite entertaining, by the way. Steve,
yeah. There's a thing in Formula One, right? I know this is a bit of a long stretch, but it's probably closer than the dog analogy. If you go into a Formula One race and you're not quite sure about your aerodynamic setup, and you pick one car to do one thing and one car to another thing, all you're guaranteeing is one of them's going to be wrong. That's all you're guaranteeing, right? So to put 2 vehicles from one company in the same same target audience, all you're guaranteeing is that one of those vehicles isn't going to be as successful as the other one. You're essentially robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're reducing the amount of production you can produce, increasing complexity. You might as well put everything into one that sells the equivalent of 2 and make more money.
Go, Pete.
There was a study done like 20, 30 years ago that this is why we have so many varieties of chocolate bars and all other foods in supermarkets, is that they found that if you have 10 different varieties of your chocolate, you'll sell a lot more than if you have 1 or 2. So all the manufacturers started producing all different varieties to try and target every niche segment to try and get the volume up. But the problem with that study is that works very well for a mediocre or a
low value.
Sorry?
A low value accessible item?
Yes, or a mediocre product.
Transaction?
Yes, a mediocre product as far as demand in the market is concerned. But if you've got a product in the market that's in high demand, it doesn't make sense, exactly as you just said, to have 2 of the same version.
Are you talking about how you can buy 10 different varieties of Tic Tacs and they got orange ones and they got green ones and whatever they got, but really the only ones that really sell are the white ones?
No, so by having all those varieties of Tic Tacs, you'll end up selling more. That's because Tic Tacs are popular, but they're not the dominant product in the category. They're not the most sought after product. But, you know, the difference with Apple and Tesla is they are the kings of their industries. They are the big standout. They are the benchmarks, and they are the products that everyone else aspires to, even the people that have Android or whatever, that, you know, they want an iPhone, but they might not necessarily be able to afford one, or they find it too expensive. But if it was the same price, they'd switch in an instant. So if you've got a product that's in a high demand in that category, it doesn't make sense to have 10 or 12 versions of it.
But it's like if you're Henry Ford and you can have any Model T color you like as long as it's black, and you're from Buick and you've invented this new car, the way you make it more enticing is you can say, look, you can have any color in the rainbow.
Yeah.
And different versions of seats, different everything, so that there's almost no excuse to not like it because there'll be some aspect of some version that you'll like.
Because it's so popular that why do you need to? Everyone's got to buy it anyway. Yeah, because that's why that sort of thing around Henry Ford, the transition between like the horse and the car, essentially like what's happening now is they're forgetting what happened before and thinking you need more. But realistically, Henry Ford was successful with one car that was black and that was it. Like the fact that Tesla's even producing a red one and a blue one and a grey one or whatever is probably not even required either. If you just fed them all white, or white and black, you'd probably just as successful.
Oh yeah, well it would be, but yeah, effectively.
The different colours there are just for extra margin.
Yeah,
they're not there to sell more cars. Yeah, and there's going to be a like a gunmetal. The one that silver? Silver. The one that they originally had at the unveiling,
and the crimson,
and they've also tested the another variety of the blue color in not long ago.
Well, while we're sort of not too late, we are getting late. This thing really annoys me because one thing I like about printed publications is once it's in the press and you've put it on paper, you've put the ink on the paper, you can't erase it. And thankfully, archive.org has actually luckily has got a capture of what is one of the most outrageous articles you can ever see. And that's this one from drive.com.au. And I've deliberately got the archived version. And the headline says, cancel Tesla Cybertruck orders to be refunded in Australia.
They should lose their license to print. Like, how come there's no like ramifications for this sort of shit?
Well, exactly.
There's no apologies, there's no like follow-ups, like it's bullshit.
But it's a non-story. There's nothing that has happened to justify that story. It's based on nothing.
But look at the way it's been written. And look, because we intimately understand Tesla, we know it's
I'm going to jump in quickly. I'm sorry, everyone.
Go, Damo.
I want to say good night, everyone. I get up at an inhumane time, so I've got to boot. Thanks for a good chat, and I'll see you all next week.
No worries, Damo. Thanks for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Take care, mate.
Bye. Cheers, Damo.
So we know that this story is bullshit, and if you read through carefully, you can prove it's bullshit. But the average person that's just glancing at this article, when it says cancelled Tesla Cybertruck orders to be refunded in Australia, it makes two statements. It's cancelled, and you're going to get a refund on your orders, right?
Well, technically, it's not wrong because if you cancel your order, you get a refund.
No, that's not what it said.
No. But if you have cancelled if you have a Cybertruck order
right now, no, you're right, Russell. Sorry, I apologise. Yes, if you cancel your Cybertruck order, it is to be refunded. Which
has always been the case. That's not changed.
But they know full well that's not how that headline is going to be interpreted. It's going to be read as the Cybertruck is being cancelled in Australia, but don't worry, you're going to get a refund for your deposit. That's how it's read.
And then it says the subheading is 2 months after Cybertruck was wiped from Tesla's Australian website, which again is that's actually not true, because as we speak right now, Cybertruck is on Tesla's Australian website. The company has confirmed orders, customers who now. How did the company confirm that customers who place an order can apply for a refund? And then it goes on, it's finally confirmed a refund. Where is it? Anyone who placed is now entitled to a refund, as there appear to be no current plans to introduce the model locally.
But you've always been entitled to a refund from day one. I could cancel my order now and get a refund.
Exactly.
It's not like all of a sudden they let us get the money back.
But then look at this. Drive has been told Tesla will refund deposits in Australia for the Cybertruck. However, it is not automatic, and customers must apply to get their money back.
Yeah.
Which
maybe what they're trying to do is get people to cancel their orders so their one gets further up in the queue.
Well, now, what's outrageous, and I think it was you, Pete, or was it you? I think it was you, Pete, that said they should lose a license, or you, Russell. I forget.
Yeah, I did,
Russell said it. Yep.
Russell. Now, we all know, we've all heard, and I was a little baby, I think it was, or a very little kid, when the Watergate scandal happened. And the thing that undid Nixon was not the break-in of the Watergate building, it was the cover-up to try and hide it. That was the actual sin, was in the cover-up, right? So, Russell, you say that this article should earn them a disqualification from publishing. Well, this is the archive.org article. And then I'm going to get the current live article as we see it today. I'm trying to get rid of that. And then we can read it side by side. And originally it said cancelled Cybertruck orders. Now it says, like, they've basically completely rewritten this entire article and undone history. And they've written it the way it should have been written, apart from not at all. To be refunded after, should customers who place an order apply for a refund on the deposit? They're asking a question. And then it's completely different. That it's been written completely different, rewritten. They've basically rewritten history to pretend that they didn't write the crap they wrote in the first place. So now if someone's read, a tweet that says this is, I think it was Tech AU that said, refuted it, rebutted it point by point. If someone then goes to say, oh, what's all this thing about Drive? Why they're being unreasonable? If they read the article now, it's a completely different story.
Yeah.
And that is diabolical that you can do that with online publishing. You should be forced to cache and freeze what you wrote and do what newspapers do, which is write a retraction. Write a separate article that says, we're very sorry. This paragraph, this paragraph, this paragraph, and this paragraph was either completely wrong or misleading, or it was,
You know what we could do, Harold? There's an ABC show called Media Watch. Maybe we write into them and give them the information and they'll do a report on it.
Very good idea.
Yeah.
Very good idea, Russell. Very good idea.
Because I bet this happens all day, every day. I bet every online article gets rewritten. If they get criticised, I'll just rewrite it as if it never existed. And
I came into work that morning and about 10 people were at my desk going, hey, you fucking not seeing smoke now, aren't you? Not getting a fucking Cybertruck. And I was like, the fuck are you talking about, you dickheads? Like, there's nothing's changed. There's this dumbass person who's uneducated written this article to try and get clicks. Obviously, they sell a lot of money in advertising somewhere. There's been huge traffic to this site because of it, and it's immoral. Like, how can you do that? And I guess how does that end justify that? Like, it's just ridiculous.
It is, and organisations like this, I don't know if they require a license to do this stuff, but whatever it is, they should lose it because it's unconscionable.
But see, the thing is, Harold, if they had to publish a retraction the way the print media does, I mean, they'd have to basically retract the whole article.
Yes.
Every paragraph's got a lie or a mistruth or a inaccuracy in it.
Or they've manipulated. They've allowed the reader to come to an inappropriate conclusion that they've deliberately set up or manufactured to make them believe it in the order that they present the facts.
But if there was some sort of a catalyst, if something happened that spurred them into writing this story, then it would be, half excusable. But there's nothing's happened. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. The fact that you can't order a Cybertruck anymore in Australia, that's old news. That's 6 months old. So
what if I did, on the strength of that article, cancel my Cybertruck order to then find out that I'm going to like I then found out that it was not true. That actually, because there was a statement, it said that the
it's not automatic and the owners must apply for it.
no, 2 months after the Cybertruck was wiped from Tesla's Australian website. Well, it's just not, because when you go to tesla.com, ENAU, tesla.com, and frustratingly, on my thing, you always got to go Australia because my cookie's been done. And that's the Australian website. Look, it's right there, Cybertruck. So we click on it, and it still has better utility, blah, blah, how awesome it is, la-di-da. And at the end it says get updates. So it's on their website.
Doesn't Fairfax own Drive? Didn't they buy it from someone, and then the people who owned it before then started another company after that?
I think it's Seven West Media that owns them now, from memory.
You'd have to Google it. It'll be on. Yeah. So the thing is, it was a damaging article, but a lot of innocent people, on the strength of it, might have reflexively gone, "Oh, I better go and apply for my money back because this is saying you got to apply for it. You can't get it automatically." And I look, there could have been between dozens or hundreds of people that have cancelled their order on the strength of that article alone.
And many of those, because you couldn't, there was no price when you were able to order it. Yep. In Australia, you've never been able to order it with a price. The only thing that you were able to lock in the price on was the full self-driving, which was 10,100. So if those people, if the Cybertruck comes in 2025, let's say, to Australia, and most of those people presumably would have clicked FSD for 10,100. And if in 2025 FSD is worth $40,000 and they have to reorder it because they've cancelled their orders on the strength of that article, that person is out by $30,000 thanks to that article. Multiply that by hundreds of people. What's that worth?
Yeah. Exactly. It's
So Drive is owned by Fairfax, which is owned by Nine.
Right. Well, there you go.
And then I'm pretty sure, I haven't done the research to this, but I'm pretty sure that Drive used to be owned by another two guys.
Yes.
And they sold it, and then they went off and started another.
Yep.
Rival
motoring journalists or something. They set it up as like a bit of a backyard
car advice or car expert or something. Or something like that.
Yeah, this is what I got mixed up. So I think it's Car Expert that now. So they've sold Drive to Channel 9, and Car Expert they've just recently sold to Seven West Media.
Okay.
So they said, So no doubt they'll do it a third time and sell that to Channel 10.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, Norm. I didn't get to your question. I just saw you say goodnight. Apologies to Norm. Now, he did ask a question in the chat, and I hope he does watch us on YouTube, which is just youtube.com/ Actually, I don't need to say that because anyone on YouTube watching this already knows. So, and everyone in the room already knows. So, yeah, I just forget what I just said. And Norm was basically asking about the Synergy tariffs. So obviously we know that the EV tariff has been stopped as a new offering for new customers, but it has officially been grandfathered. So if you are already on the EV tariff, and by the way, that is the standard is it A1 tariff? Is that what it's called, Pete?
It is.
The A1. So it's a standard 29 cents for 24 hours, except for between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. 4 a.m., sorry. And that is then at roughly 20 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, Synergy dropped that tariff roughly at the end of the financial year. And but if you've already got it, and you continue to qualify because every anniversary date you had to, in a year's time, you had to re-prove that you still own an EV.
Do they call you or something, or they send you an email? You got to send it yourself, or how?
I don't have it, to be honest, so I don't know exactly. I presume it's some sort of communications of probably depends on how your bill is communicated. If it's paper, they might send you a. I don't know, Russell. Actually, it's probably email because I think when you register, you put in your email details. I think because you've got to online submit a PDF or a scan of your rego papers.
Mine's
and
due in
your-
like 2 months. That's why I asked, because
So
2 months time I'll be.
I re-registered.
Oh,
Yes.
cool.
They
Awesome.
just sent an email and asked you to fill in a form to say that you were still current.
Did you have to provide a copy of your rego papers?
Yes.
Yep.
Do you get double discount if you got 2 cars or not?
If only. Well, actually, Russell, I've got
only have
2
one.
cars, but they're both company cars and they don't qualify. So, but anyway, that's another story. There was a gentleman that sent me an email because I sent out an email to all our members saying that the EV tariff was grandfathered, and I got a reply back from a member that said that he did get the link to renew the tariff, but that the link was broken and it didn't work. He got like an error message. So then he had to ring Synergy several times to get it fixed, and they basically couldn't fix it. And they then said they promised to manually renew him. So hopefully this is only a transient problem and it's not a symptom of something that's going to happen more often or continue to happen. But getting to Norm's original question, there is now another tariff that doesn't actually replace the EV tariff, but this is a new tariff, which is the midday saver. And from memory, from about 9 a.m. to 3 p.m, it's 8 cents per kilowatt hour, which is very cheap. From 3 p.m. to 9 p.m, it's 50 at least 50 cents, 55 cents a kilowatt hour, which is horrendously expensive.
It's 50.
50. Oh, 50. Oh, thanks, Richard. Yeah, 50. So, and then from 9 p.m. to
9 a.m.
It's
22.
22 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, what has been said is, I think this was mentioned last night, I can't quite remember, but there is actually, oh no, that was an email that I sent out, so that was official as well, that Synergy are working on an EV augmentation of that tariff. So the presumption there is perhaps there might be some time at night time when you'll also get an additional discount intended to encourage EVs to charge in the dead of the night, possibly like the EV tariff between say 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. But that's being developed now and will be released sometime towards the end of this year. So apologies, Norm, if you're watching this on YouTube, that's the answer to your question about tariffs. But I think, Pete, your question last night was a good one, which is, well, you go and ask your rhetorical question.
Which
Describe
question?
what you asked. The tariff, mate.
Right, yes, of course, yeah. So the question was, what does Synergy think about the idea? So we use tariffs as a price signal to try and influence behaviour because, there's, customers that are generating their own power. Now they've got EVs, they've got batteries, etc. So to try and, bring the whole market into harmony, you use tariffs as a price. The problem with using tariffs is you first have to have a trial. Well, first you have to think of the tariff. You have to propose it. You've got to get consensus. Then you have a trial. That trial has got to last for a certain period, be it 3, 6, 9 months, and then you might put it into wide release. And that whole process can take 18 months. Whereas if you just let consumers have access to what's called the balancing market in WA, which is basically the spot market, which changes in half-hourly intervals, rather than having the friction of an 18-month turnaround. And the problem is that, 10 years ago, we had too much load on the network at midday. Now we've got the opposite problem because that's been hollowed out by solar. We don't have enough demand during the middle of the day. Now, as EVs come on, we might have problems at other times of the day. So then we'll have to have another tariff, and then, that will show up with a problem somewhere else, and then you'll have to change the tariff again. Rather than, doing this in 18-month intervals, why don't you just have the A1 tariff, which is a fixed price across 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then offer a spot market tariff that changes every 30 minutes, and be the spot price plus a margin on top, and a fixed margin, ideally as a percentage term. And then what you would do is, if consumers had the confidence that that tariff was going to remain in the long term, because that tariff by definition you shouldn't have to change, and that tariff could run for forever, then you'd be able to make investment decisions based on that. And both residential as well as commercial customers, I'd buy a Powerwall straight away. I'd set it up so that it could take advantage of really expensive prices and sell into the grid, and take advantage of really low or negative prices and buy from the grid, which is exactly what you want the market to do. But rather than taking 18 months to get that change in behaviour, you could wait 30 minutes instead.
So it's basically a cost plus tariff. It's literally wholesale plus a small margin tariff. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and ideally you'd have that margin in percentage terms, so that and that would be, the margin could change. That's fine as synergies, cost structures change or what have you, but or Western Powers, but yeah, just if you knew that for the next 20, 30 years, this will be a tariff that will stay because market forces will make it logical for that tariff to stay, then you could invest in all sorts of things to take advantage of that.
Well, it brings forward innovation. So
exactly,
if you've got something that takes half an hour to do, so if you had a clothes dryer which might take 2 hours, might take an hour and a half, then there might be a situation where you have a computer system or something. It's connected to the internet. It'd be a smart device, because many of them are. Many appliances are going to being, IoT, Internet of Things. So your clothes dryer could decide to turn on because suddenly power is cheap. Now, say in half an hour, it gets declared as it's going to be expensive. Well, I guess a clothes dryer could either decide to stop, or maybe it just presses on, or it just calculates that on average it's done a good thing anyway and just continues, or it pulls in power from a battery if you've got a battery. But you could have you could have aircon systems, which Tesla will eventually get into. You could think of things like, let's get a glycol reservoir, so we suddenly have a different system where we invest in, or a bigger building could do this, and have glycol storage, or
you could have just iron bars or something that's really heavy, and 10-story building, and when electricity is negative or really cheap, you take the weight up and then you let it fall down. You could have Bitcoin miners that would be set up to only mine up until a certain price while it made sense, and they could take into account the market price of Bitcoin versus the mining costs. But basically, fundamentally, there's really only generators, so solar, wind, whatever that is, storage, battery, hydro, whatever that is, and your load. So, and your loads, you either have discretionary loads or, loads that you've got no say over when they go. Every house has got a base load. Your fridge still has to run and what have you. But you've essentially got your loads, your storage, and your generation, and all three of those classes of, factors on the grid. The column DERs, distributed energy resources. All three of them could work in harmony together and adjust within half an hour.
So what you could have is you could have a cost plus tariff to consume and a cost minus tariff to produce. So,
yes.
So Synergy could offer, let's call it, cost plus 5%, 10%, or whether they do it in cents or whole cents or a percentage, like you say, it might be plus 10%. So it's the wholesale price plus 10% if you're consuming, and they will pay you the wholesale price minus 10% if you're producing.
I think Synergy is mandated that they need to achieve, is mandated by, I think it's Energy Policy WA, but basically the state government. I can't remember whether it's 4% or whatever their required rate of return is. So whatever that amount is mandated, you put that onto your price, and then you add another fraction of a percentage to cover costs, admin, what have you, and there's your tariff.
Is it because if that was to happen, it would force the pace of change to be out of the control of the government?
Exactly.
Force action, where in this scenario, it's essentially them setting the pace of change in a controlled way that they can then handle. Because
it's not just that, Russell. There's a lot of people that would, whose jobs, there's a lot of jobs, a lot of state government jobs around proposing new tariffs, running studies into new tariffs, that whole 18-month process. There's a lot of papers, they get a lot of meetings, so there's a lot of that. But
or could it be that the cost of electricity right now is very enticing to the commercial sector, as it's subsidised, and if they then put on spot market, you can find that the commercial customers actually going to be paying a lot more for their electricity because they have a choice. They've got to use it at the price or not.
Commercial clients sort of, it's very rare, but I mean, in the eastern states, even residential clients can have access to the spot price plus a margin, and commercial clients, no problems. You can unbundle your tariffs if you're a contestable client, but generally the energy portion, so the cost of generating and the electricity, not necessarily supplying it, but generating it, that is usually fixed over the contract period. But it is possible to get access to the spot market, but you've got to use enough power to have that negotiating leverage. But when you think about it, we've got the VPP trial, we've got Symphony, we're trialing EVs, we're trialing demand response, schemes. All these things you could completely eliminate just by having a spot tariff.
Yep. Because then every consumer can decide what to do about that. If they want to join the spot tariff, you go, well, I know I'm going to get stung every peak period for that time, so I'm going to stop consuming power. And how do I do that? Well, I either turn stuff off, don't use stuff, or I've built up battery storage, or I've built up thermal storage for hot water or air conditioning or whatever, or I've got an EV that I'll get to charge sooner or later or whatever. And you're right, Pete. It literally exposes the energy market to the full influence of market forces, as in innovation to make $1 or save $1, whatever it is.
We are yet to find a better mechanism for efficiently allocating capital and resources than the free market. It's not the best by a country mile, but it's the least worst we have. And it's a lot less worse than having all these convoluted schemes that we're trialing and running and then changing, every 20 months,
And you can imagine, there's some instances where the wholesale price becomes negative to produce. And a great way to solve that is you have, on three-phase, you have 3 forks going in the ground, and you just start turning sand into glass with like megawatts of load into the ground, because they've got to get rid of it somehow. And that would be worth paying $1,000 for 3 carbon rods into the ground in a bucket, or not a bucket, but or whatever, into a swimming pool sized piece of sand.
There'll be dozens and hundreds of ideas like that one that will be able to see the light of day. Like I said, it's a tariff that encourages innovation.
Rather than switching people's inverters off, I mean, that's the alternative potentially.
Exactly. Absolutely. If you knew that to export power at 11 o'clock would cost you money, you wouldn't do it. You'd very quickly invest in a battery, and now the payback period of a battery would be 5 or 6 years rather than 10 years.
Even if everyone had free electricity when the whole system was out to blow up, and all they got to do is say, "Oh yeah, I'll charge my car now," the thing could be fixed in 2 minutes. Like, if you got paid to charge your car, we're so cheap. People drive like 50 kilometers down the road just to get free charging. If you're sitting in your house, I can guarantee you everyone's going to turn their car on to charge if they're going to get paid for it. Like,
the one criticism that I've heard for this is that it's unequitable because it gives the demographics that have got more resources that can take advantage of this an unfair advantage. Whereas that's actually not even true, because you can think about it, the pensioners that are going from pension check to pension check and are struggling to make ends meet, if they were on this tariff, they've got a discretionary load. They can decide to put the dishwasher on at 6 a.m. or 5 p.m. or whenever they like. They could really save on power by using it at times when the electricity price is negative. They could get a credit on their bill without having to invest in anything, just by using power at different times of the day, which they can do.
Well, something else you can do easily is, with this margin, the cost plus, and the cost plus to consume and the cost minus to produce or export, part of that margin could go to subsidize other groups who don't want to do this. They just want to go on a standard A1 tariff, and let's call it 15 cents per kilowatt hour if you're a pensioner or whatever. The other thing that a question I asked privately, or not in the audience, but in the interaction afterwards, was it would be great if Synergy. Well, one question was, for all those solar people that own solar, that's in excess of, the inverters are bigger than 5 kilowatts. Of course, you get 0 feed-in tariff. So anything you produce gets given to the grid for nothing. Like all of it, all of the export is 0 rated.
And you could get rid of that as well.
Well,
you could get rid of that as well.
Well, my question was who gets it, and I presumed it might have been AEMO or something, because I know Synergy is a generator. They've got 2 faces, a generator and a retailer, and Western Power is the distributor. But yeah, but the answer I got was that it's most likely that Synergy actually gets that windfall surplus solar for people who've got more than 5 kilowatts of inverter. My question then was, why can't people that have those sort of setups choose to donate that power to either a deserving charity or a deserving demographic?
I'll tell you why it doesn't work, Harold, because the problem is that, yes, that kilowatt hour of electricity is being given away free on a behind the meter basis, but as soon as it's actually exported, goes past the meter, it's on Western Power's network, and Western Power takes a clip because that's how they get paid to upkeep the wires and poles, and that could be 2-3 cents. So so it costs. So Synergy is not effectively getting it for free. They've still got to pay Western Power the 2 or 3 cents for that kilowatt hour to have
yes,
one from your meter to your neighbour's meter.
Yep, but there's still surely that's still cheaper than the cost of generation, even if you include Western Power's.
Yeah.
So
it has to be, because some of these old ancient feed buyback or the feed-in tariffs before were like 40-50 cents or something, weren't they, back in the day?
That was artificially done to encourage solar. That was literally an initiative to subsidise the uptake of ridiculously expensive solar in the early days.
I paid over 30 grand for our system.
Yeah, okay.
But it paid for itself, no doubt, with the feed-in. Oh no, maybe not.
it has.
You're a big.
No, it has 3 times over.
Oh, yeah.
It's 30 grand, but that's because I didn't surrender my STCs because they're only worth about $12. So I created them myself and I held on to them and I sold them 3 years ago at 37 cents or whatever.
But yeah, so that's there you go, Russell.
So this is before we spoke about the EV tariff, right? That people can't access anymore unless they were already on it. One of the things you get was the free monthly kilometers. Yeah.
Yep.
That's worth hardly anything.
But how come I never get it? Like, why is mine always just say 0? Every month it says 21, then it says 0. Like, how come I never get it? Is that like a glitch, or am I like not getting it because I've got some other weird ass setup? Or
That's interesting.
Ever since I've had it, like, I've never actually received it. I don't know whether it's because I didn't have to pay for a smart meter conversion because mine was already done. I don't know whether this is almost payback for that initial payment where I never paid that initial payment.
I doubt it. I think that's worthwhile a telephone call to Synergy, Russell.
Yeah.
I asked them before, and I don't know. I won't say what they were, but
no. It says that you're getting those for free. It says that you're getting EV free monthly kilometers means you're paying 0 cents for it.
Yes.
So you charge 0 cents for it. You still got the 21 kilowatt hours and you got them for free. That's all that says.
But wouldn't it be a negative number here then? Like, I'm not actually.
So Russell, so what's your total kilowatt hour usage? If it's 270, 80, 92 or 93 kilowatt hours, then it all lines up.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah.
So what's your total? And don't be careful of the screen. So just unshare it for a moment, just to make sure you're not clicking on personal information, because I can't be bothered editing the video because that's going to do my head.
Sorry, the total kilowatts.
Yeah. If it's 290 odd kilowatt hours, then it's exactly lined up as Peter's implied, because so it should be.
So this bill 300 kilowatts.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, well, within margin. Yeah, that's probably about right. Yep. So they've actually have given it to you. All they've done is they've just broken it out as there's 21 kilowatt hours of your total usage at 0 rate.
Yeah. Is that sharing?
Yes. Yeah, but you have your info there, mate.
Oh, whatever.
So
that it is that we're talking about.
So imported. Oh yeah, there you go. 211 plus 87. That's right. No, you're right, mate. Because they're saying EV off-peak consumption is 87. If you scroll down to the breakup of the 87, there it is. There's 66 and then 21 frees. So you're all good, mate.
All right. Why didn't they explain that to me on the phone? Because I was confused. Anyway,
because you're a confusing person. And they said, "Oh, look, let's just not disagree with this customer. He's being aggressive, and let's just end the call now."
Yeah.
That's what it is. So that's all good, mate. You are getting the free 21 kilowatt hours, whatever that's worth.
Okay, so I thought they would show it as a negative number against the total, though. That's all. That's why I was.
It would have been
I
nice
understand.
to add it as a credit. That's right, because then it makes it obvious. But
Yeah.
that was a bit too subtle.
Okay.
But it's it's all good. Hey, it's getting. Speaking of subtle, it's for Carmen's all right because Carmen's about to have a siesta. I'd say.
I'm
and-
also next week. Next week,
Yes.
I'm going to actually be dialing in from India. I don't know if that tops Carmen Spain or not.
It's closer than Spain, just quietly, but it's still a good effort, and not that
No,
we're
but this is Vermouth time. It's 5:30.
Ooh, lovely. I wish it was 5:30 here because then we could keep
Yeah.
rocking on. But
Very civilized.
see, Carmen could be part of our next tranche of talk around the clock.
Yes.
She could do the afternoon shift.
She could she could take over for the European part of the show.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right.
Not much about cars, but never mind.
So Russell, so you're in India. That's awesome. So yeah, you'll be interested to see how good the interwebs are.
It's going to come down to how good the hotel is. I'm
It'll
there
be
for work.
fine.
Where in India?
Hotel, office. That's all I'm going to be doing.
Is that work or pleasure or both, Russell?
Nah, just work. I don't really want to go, but I have to go. So
sorry, Richard.
Whereabouts is it, Russell?
In Chennai, the office is.
Oh yeah.
Why would you not want to go? You've been to India before?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I've done so much travel with work. It's just, I mean, when I was younger, I really enjoyed it, but
yeah,
I mean, there's only so many
work
frequent
travel is
flyers one
definitely
person
overrated.
can gather before they get sick of flying. You know.
Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah, how much
also-
how much first
also
class
this is
flying
something
can you
that's-
handle, Russell?
Pardon me, how much what?
How much first class flying can you actually handle?
Yeah. This is something actually that's been stuffing up lately. For some reason, when you apply to offset your travel with Qantas at the moment, you can pay with points like you always do. The points get taken off your account, and then the next day after you fly, they get refunded because they can't process carbon offset at the moment. And I've tried it 6 times now in the past, I don't know, few months, and every single time it gets refunded, and every single time I say, "Oh yeah, we're working on it."
The question is it just the money that's being refunded, or are you not offsetting any carbon?
I'm not offsetting any carbon.
Oh, well, that's disappointing. Yeah.
So I've tried a number of times. I've been in touch with them heaps of times, and I'm just beyond frustrated with how little they care about it. Because I think at the moment there's bigger fish to fry in their concern bucket with the lack of staff and the strikes and the delays and all that sort of stuff.
Some of that is true, but I wanted to upgrade a flight with points, and they asked for 1 million.
Yep.
1 million
And I said,
points.
that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Who has 1 million points?
I've got 2 million points, Carmen.
I was going to say,
Oh,
Russell.
have you?
You beat me, Russell.
I don't. And my understanding is that they just didn't want people to call.
Yeah.
Call? Who calls? How old are you, Carmen?
Don't answer that, Carmen. That's a very
Very old.
pertinent question, Russell.
Very
naughty,
old.
very naughty.
No, the answer to that is as old as I feel and as old as
Okay. Very young, as old as I feel.
or as young as I feel.
Yes.
Anyway,
Oh,
so if
dear.
someone wants to look into that and find out and do an expose on carbon offsets, but also to add to that, the certification of the carbon offsets at the moment are a little bit dicey to start with. So I wouldn't be super, I guess, trustworthy of the carbon credits at the moment.
The Australian ones are pretty good. It's some of the international ones that are a bit dodgy.
But don't you get there were farmers that were being paid not to clear land, or they were being paid to plant a tree that was never going to grow in the first place, and no one cares if the tree subsequently dies or the sapling dies or something. It's just.
I mean, my bigger concern is that this money is just going into these forests that just end up burning down. So,
yeah, and it feeds it all back. Whereas apparently one of the most effective methods is you grow trees, You cut them down, and
exactly.
you bury them. You just
or you
in the
build
ground.
stuff out of them. And
Furniture in a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I've explained the concept to people. Look, it's a carbon store. Like so many times, they're like, no, but the tree needs to be living. No, it doesn't. It's locked it away.
You could produce charcoal. You could get syngas out of charcoal and use that, burn it, whatever. And the charcoal, well, that's called biochar. I think the Peruvians worked that out, and it acts as not a fertilizer, but a soil
I know what you
improver
mean.
In soil, and it stays there.
Does it fix the nitrogen? Something along those lines. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree.
But the actual, I don't know what charcoal is. It's just carbon black. It's just carbon basically. It's obviously not graphite, but it's just carbon, and it's in the ground and it just stays there. It doesn't oxidize. It just stays there as a catalyst or nutrient or whatever. But anyway, now something that can't stay here all night is us. I mean, Carmen's good. It's only vermouth time, so and after that it goes into the hard stuff. But it is time for us to go because it's been a long session.
What's your sangria, Carmen? Get your sangria there or not? No sangria.
Yeah. Oh yes, all of it. Yeah.
Have you got any on hand?
Liquor is very cheap.
Yes, it would be.
It's very cheap liquor.
Make us jealous, Carmen. So how much is a bottle of, say, 750 ml or 700 mils of
gin?
Vodka? Or gin?
Gin or vodka, €9.
10 euro. I said 10. You even beat me on that.
I can only bring back 2.
Yes.
1 liter.
And because everyone's a grown up in Europe, you can go to a deli, a supermarket.
Yes, there's a supermarket.
Or McDonald's beer.
You can buy beer. I'll beer on a platform train station.
All right, so we've definitely got to go. It's been a long night, but a great night. So Pete, how would you round out the show in your normal way?
As if we didn't know.
As if we didn't know.
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join Tokwa, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. On that note,
fantastic.
Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
See you, everyone. Bye.
See you.